What is going on, everybody? Voidlego here, back with a brand new episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last time on, we did a lot more fragments, and we learned a lot of stuff. I think the main point we learned last episode is the types of symptoms the Himizawan syndrome brings to people. We see how it affects Rina, Sadako, and Satoshi in particular, and then the different ways it manifests in each one of them. Another thing we also saw is the execution order of the Furude couple, ordered by Takano, which is very interesting that someone pointed this out last episode. It wasn't Takano who brought up that the mother should be killed. It was Willie Okonogi that said that, which brings Takano over the edge. Takano is a very interesting character because she doesn't view what she's doing as wrong to the residents of Himizawa. She's doing it for research purposes in order to prove her grandfather's hypothesis right. She's not doing it out of pure malice. She's doing it for scientific exploration. But I feel like when Okonogi suggests that she can literally have the power to kill off anybody when she wants, however she wants, I think that's the point that turns Takano from a pure academical, just keep going, forget about morals era. And let's just do this for pure scientific research into more malice, really. I think that's the turning point, which is very interesting for Takano's character. It's very interesting to know that before that, it was really all just scientific to her. She didn't really care about the morals, she just cared about the results, That's all she really cared about. She didn't care about the people. She really couldn't give a crap. But, yeah, I think this will be the last part of this segment. I think. Hopefully. So, let's just get right into it. Okay, so, as you can see, we have a lot of it done. To a different one. Can we do this one? Yeah, I think we can do this one. Yep. It happened so suddenly. Uncle Kazumi passed away. There it is. Now I wonder when Kazumi's death happens. Like, is it after the Furude couple's death? Or is it... I don't know. But I feel like this will also send Takano off the really deep end. If the order to kill the Furude couple pushed her, this throws her off the cliff. I never heard he was ill or wasn't feeling well. His chest started to hurt suddenly and he couldn't sleep. He called an ambulance for the first time in his life because he didn't think he could endure the pain. He was taken to emergency care, but he didn't live to see morning. It was an acute myocardial infarction, but maybe it was the best possible way to go. Instead of being in bed for many years, slowly debilitating and withering away, he was healthy until his death, so I think he must have lived a wonderful life. But still, it was too sudden. I wish I had called him Uncle more. It's too late though. Uncle Kazumi would never smile at me again with his wrinkly old face, no matter how many times I called for him. He was my guardian until now. He always looked after me, making sure my efforts received proper recognition. Maybe he only did that because he couldn't help my grandfather when he was alive. But still, he was an important person to me. He wasn't just my political backing, but I didn't realize that when he was alive, I only thought of using his power for my own agenda. But after he died, I realized Uncle Kazumi was my grandpa too. He provided the warmth and protection I longed for from my own grandfather. At this funeral, I shed tears that I thought that I forgot how to.
おじいちゃん、今までありがとう。もっとおじいちゃんって呼んであげればよかったね。
No matter how many times I called to him, he would never reply. What can I do for him at this point as I complete my research? I must accomplish my goal for his sake. When my grandfather's research is finally acknowledged, Uncle Kazumi's name will be known once again for being the sole supporter of his endeavor. I believe that's the best way to repay him for everything he has done. I vow to devote myself to my work even more from this day on, but unfortunately, hardships and sadness tend to come together. It was like the tailwind that blew steadily until today suddenly became a hot headwind. The wind shifted far too suddenly. So strong, so cold, so sad.
どういうことなの、次郎さん。
小泉先生が入江機関設立の立役者だったのは高野さんも知ってるよね。関係機関でなかなか承認の取れなかったのを小泉先生が強力に抑え込んで無理やり通させたって話なんだよ。何しろ医薬品業界で絶大な功績を挙げられた戦後日本復興の重鎮だからね。政財界に絶大な影響力を持たれていたし。
その小泉先生が亡くなって、小泉先生が通した無理やりが通らなくなったということ。
あくまでも噂なんで本当のところは僕にもわからないんだけど、一部の予算配当やプロジェクトの見直しが行われるらしいというのを聞いたんだよ。
入江機関が廃止されるということ。
いや、入江機関を見直すというのは聞いたことないけど、ただ小泉先生の死後、長老たちの派閥や勢力、後継者争いがややこしくなっているってもっぱらの噂なんだ。すでにクライアントの人事にかなりの影響を与え始めてるらしいんだ。それで小泉派が主導していたプロジェクトや聖域予算に対し締め付けが行われるんじゃないかって憶測が飛び交ってるらしいんだよ。もちろんそれらは全て僕にとって雲の上の話だからね。伝え聞いた噂話でしかないんだけれど。
Chiro-san kept saying they were rumors, but that told me the wind's direction has changed. Or maybe Jiro-san already knows everything and is simply trying to warn me about it. And then at our next routine audit, Jiro-san made it clear with his own mouth. High-ranking government officials who had never came here before attended a routine audit along with Jiro-san. Just by seeing those faces, I can tell the turning point is approaching.
ご存知の通り、アルファベットプロジェクトは戦後日本の国際的な地位向上を目的としたものです。ですが、すでに昭和も50年代に至り、西暦は21世紀を間近にしております。
In this day and age, we must put the past behind us and start looking forward to a new world. He meant exactly what he said. Japan has already put the past behind, and it's cutting off its ties to the ghosts that wish to resurrect the militaristic might of the pre-war era.
戦後40年間、我が国は世界への平和的貢献を模索し、国際的地位を確立するに至りました。日本は国際社会において重要なポジションを担う国家として成熟し、来世紀にはますますにその存在感を強めることでしょう。
The Alphabet Project, the main sponsor of the Ear Institute, are a group of people who want to develop a weapon that would act as a deterrent to the nuclear weapons which Japan is forbidden to own. So they've come to the Ira Institute, one of its branch organizations, to tell us Japan has now renounced nuclear arms. So the Ira Institute will be facing a strong cold headwind from now on. The wall of the die that came up with one on that stormy day has reappeared. I won't let the result of a die affect me. The power of my will won't be beaten by some god's roll of the dice.
よって現在時代に即した形になるようアルファベットプロジェクトの見直しを進めています。新生アルファベットプロジェクトは国際交流と経済発展の二軸からなる平和外交の見地から日本の地位向上を模索していくことになるでしょう。
All of the people who hold tremendous influence in the politics and economy of Japan were born before the war, so naturally they want to regain the glory of pre-war Japan. The very idea that we can win next time if we research the new bomb that defeated us itself a specter of the war. Now everyone already realized that. It was just that no one could speak out against the grandstanding elders they owed their gratitude towards. Soon the old will wither away and this new generation will take control. Uncle Kazumi was, in a way, the last remaining pillar for the old generation. His death is a chance for the new generation to step in. The things they couldn't argue openly are now being discussed. They've pointed out that from the beginning the Alphabet Project was created for the personal satisfaction of a small group of people, and it sucked money out of the treasury. And so the new generation of politicians have taken it over from the old.
よってアルファベットに関わるすべてのプロジェクトで今後大幅な予算の見直しが図られていくことになります。これはもちろん入江機関も例外ではありません。どうかご了解をいただけますようよろしくお願いいたします。
わかりました。私たちもスポンサーあっての研究です。どうかよろしくお願いいたします。
All of this different events are just driving Takano into a corner, which means she does something absolutely horrible, something rash. Yuri responded appropriately, but he's obviously bewildered. The best equipment and staff are being provided to the Ira Institute. In other words, our research requires a huge amount of money. For those with no interest in Himizawa syndrome, they probably won't be able to understand why that much money is being put into the research of disgusting parasites. If they're simply going to revise our budget, that would be fine. We were receiving more than enough money. That would naturally be adjusted. It hurts, but we can endure. That's what I thought. But if I just enduring it was enough, it wouldn't be a 1 on the die. So even in that sense, this is definitely a row of a die coming up as 1.
でありまして、この4月に新体制の理事会が発足し、全プロジェクトに対する新方針が示されました。これにつきましては、お配りします資料をご覧ください。
His papers were then passed around. He started to go over the details, but I read through quickly so I could learn about their stupid decisions first.
入江機関はこれまで先進的な研究において数々の目覚ましい成果を上げられ、未知であったひなみ沢症候群の全貌解明、そして治療薬の開発を成し遂げました。理事会でもこの成果は大変に高く評価しています。これもすべて入江所長以下入江機関全職員のたゆみない努力によるものと思っております。
いえ、恐縮です。
Even while we received their congratulations, a tense atmosphere surrounded me and Ire. It's customary to start the conversation in the opposite way you're planning to take it before delving into your main point to convey. If the main issue is something good, then start with something bad. Or vice versa.
入江機関の研究目的は2つありました。ひなみ沢症候群の研究と治療法の確立、そして多面運用の模索です。 新生理事会はこの後者の多面運用の模索については即時の中止を決定しました。これらの研究開発が国内で行われていた事実と痕跡は今後はむしろアキレス腱になりかねません。入江機関は直ちにこれに関わる全ての研究を中止し一切を破棄してください。
わかりました。ご指示に従います。
Yuri replied with that immediately. Yuri was assertive about finding a cure, but was never even remotely interested in researching the disease's use for military purposes. So I'm sure he has no qualms about concerting with such demands. But I don't agree. Because our research will be more limited if we're just trying to find a cure. To me, finding that cure is simply a byproduct of my larger goal of discovering everything about the syndrome.
また入江期間につきましては最長3年以内をめどに研究の収束を図ってまいります。予算もそれに合わせ段階的に縮小する方針です。
3 years.
ちょっと待ってください。近年ようやくひなみ沢症候群の全貌が分かり、今まさに治療法の研究を進めているところです。確かに研究は日々進んでおりますが、3年という短い期間で確実に完成させられることをお約束はできません。
理事会では入江機関はすでに治療薬について十分な研究を完成させているという認識です。すでに入江機関は治療薬 C117 を完成させ、その臨床データを多数。
Okay, so the C117 thing is completed. Good to know. Where is it?
いえ、完成なんてとんでもない。まだまだ試薬の域を出ず、村人全員を治療できる目処は全く立っていません。このような段階で研究終了ありきでの議論は全くもって無謀としか言いようがありません。
I'm surprised that Yuri objected. Thanks to him, I didn't have to say anything. But if Yuri hadn't objected, I'm sure I would have shrieked in protest.
それでは入江機関には現時点では感染者全員を治療し、ひなみ沢症候群を撲滅することは不可能だということですね。
そうです。もちろん村人全員の治療とひなみ沢症候群の撲滅は将来的には不可能なことではありませんし、私もそれを最大の目標にしています。ただそれには十分な時間が必要で、そのためには無論予算も必要です。私たちは調べ、実践し、確立する仕事をしています。設計図に従ってものを作り、期間があれば必ず決まった成果が出せる仕事とは事情が違います。どうかそこを誤解なさらないようにしていただきたいです。
But, time is money. I guess Yuri speaks out when he needs to. And what he's saying is absolutely right. Research isn't something guaranteed to produce results with money and time. But I disagree with some of the things he said. He's objecting about the time and the money, but he's basically agreeing to limit our research only towards finding a cure for Himizawa syndrome. That won't do. We won't unravel any mysteries that way. At that rate, the discovery of the Himizawa syndrome won't be recognized as my grandfather's great achievement.
なるほど。入江所長のおっしゃることもごもっともと思います。私どもにとっての最大の目的は軍事目的の研究が行われていたことの完全な破棄です。よってひなみ沢症候群という特殊現象が研究されていた痕跡とそもそも存在していた事実についても隠蔽すべきであると考えます。最終的にひなみ沢症候群が世間に知られることなく撲滅されるならば、そのための期間と予算は必要不可欠なものでしょう。それについては今後協議を重ねていくということでよろしいでしょうか。
Oh yeah, yeah, Takano won't accept that. So they just get rid of it, like, just if they, make the cure, do the, cure the disease and Nobody ever finds out about it? And what the hell was the purpose of her grandfather's research? What was the purpose of all those deaths? In at least Takano's mind.
はい、依存ありません。
では入江機関はできるだけ早急にひなみ沢症候群撲滅を秘密裏に行えるプランと予算案を作成提出してください。極力ご指示を汲み取れるよう努力します。
わかりました。早急に提出いたします。
誤解ないようにしていただきたいのは、私どもはあくまでも研究を直ちに中断させようというのではなく、円満な形で研究を終了させようということです。この違いをご理解ください。
ええ、もちろん理解しております。
While I was listening to their conversation, I was struck dumbfounded with something they said. Eradicating the syndrome in secrecy. In other words, it would be as though Himizawa syndrome never existed. So my grandfather's name would never be revered by anyone. The sound of rustling papers and hushed proceedings filled the meeting room, but I only heard the ticking clock as I clutched my sweating palms. Damn. More and more this goes on, the more and more we see why Takano does what she does. She's getting driven into a corner. What she did was, still fucking horrible, but, we can see her desperation. Okay. The death of Kazumi sensei.
今日はこれくらいにしようか。気が乗らないみたいだからね。
あら、そんなことはないのよ。そう見えたならごめんなさいね。
Takano-san has been looking through the viewfinder, but I've never seen her push the shutter at all. Well, she came along. I don't think she's in the mood for bird watching. I mean, she's had that face for like the past 45 minutes. Takano-san has been depressed ever since the announcement of the new policies at the board meeting the other day. That's understandable. The Area Institute was created by her in the first place. It was created so that she can devote her life to researching Himizawa syndrome. For all that to be tossed aside while being asked to wrap up work within a few years, of course she's depressed. Besides, she can't even fully spend the rest of the time left on research. Their funding was being cut in stages, and by the end they'll be barely able to finish closing up, let alone research anything. I heard that she's the granddaughter of the late Dr. Takano. Her determination to finish her grandfather's research is what kept her going until today. Since everything has been going so smoothly until recently, the sudden change in the wind's direction must have been a total shock. The shift in people pulling the strings must be pretty serious. The board of directors was completely changed out, and she heard the people and projects influenced by the Kazumi faction were being restructured to set an example. The wind's new direction seems likely to remain for a long time. It's highly unlikely that the Kazumi faction will ever come back to power, so no matter what we say, it's almost impossible to expect the same kind of support from them.
もうどうにもならないのかしら。
Takano-san muttered. Unfortunately, there isn't. There's nothing anybody can do.
最初理事会では即時研究を中止という話も出たんだ。それをなんとか納得させて数年間で段階的に終了というところまで勝ち取ってくれたんだよ。入江機関発足で僕たちを世話してくれた人たちがね。
なるほど。一見最悪と思えるこの状況も、それでも陰で誰かが勝ち取ったギリギリの成果なのね。
それで勝ち取った期間がせいぜい3年なんだ。僕も一応努力はしたんだよ。高野さんが今日までに作った資料を理事会に説明し、 とても重要な研究であることをアピールしたつもりなんだけど。
それでも3年でおしまいなのね。
Maybe Takano-san doesn't understand how hard I try to convince them. Because what she just said tells me the length of time left really doesn't matter to her. The important thing is that her research is being stopped. The fact is that I couldn't meet her expectations and made her feel disappointed. As a man, it kind of hurts.
僕にできることは、せめて研究が畳まれるまでの数年間、心残りがないよう研究できるだけの予算をつけるための根回しをしてあげることだけだ。ごめん、こんな程度のことしかできなくて。
いいのよ。それが二郎さんにできる精一杯なのなら、それでとても嬉しいもの。
Her words hurt me. I wish she'd chosen different ones, but I think that would be asking too much for someone so heartbroken. I must be understanding of her pain at a time like this. Besides, I know how close she was to the deceased Kazumi-sensei. She even called him uncle. To her, his death is not just the start of a coup, or a change in direction. She lost the person who was always looking after her. No matter how hard she pushed herself to act villainous, she wasn't supposed to be part of this world. She was just an ordinary woman. But she was intrigued by Himizawa syndrome, and she had to find help from someone who had more power than her to be able to continue research on it. The dark side of the world she should have never gotten involved in, extended its hands out to her. She was left all by herself in that world. She's still trying to put on a brave face. I'm sure Takano-san thinks I'm unreliable. Realistically, I'm not the kind of person who can meet her expectations, nor do I have the power to. The least I can do for her is to stay sincere and remain her ally until the very end. Since she had so much room to act, it's harder for her to determine what actions to take when she's cornered. I wanted to believe she wouldn't, but I'm concerned that she might do something drastic eventually. I hope I can be of help to her in that very final moment before she makes her move. But I can't even gain enough trust from her to do that. How pitiful and pathetic. Of course, part of it is, as a man, I want her to rely on me. But that's not really it. She's been abandoned in this world and is all alone, so someone has to be her ally. And if I'm the only one who knows about that, then being her ally is my job. I know her too well, so I know that she'll never ask for help. Even if she says it's unnecessary, someone has to be with her. I know that. I don't really think I'm suited for that job. I'm sure that there are many reliable people out there who are more appropriate for the position than me. But I can't let her be alone until that person appears.
僕は全然頼りがいもないし、みっともない男かもしれないけど。
何突然。どうしたの二郎さん。
それでも頼ってもらえたらきっと力になれることもあると思うんだ。だから。
ありがとう。でも私、喋るだけでも心が軽くなるっていうのをあまり信じてないの。ごめんなさいね。気にしてもらえるだけでもとても嬉しいわよ。
そうかい。ならいいんだ。僕はずっと味方だから、それだけは信じていてほしいな。
もちろん信じてるわ。理事会をうまく説得できる方法があったらぜひ教えてね。
僕なりにも努力してみるよ。
Why is it? I know she's such a strong person and there's nothing someone like me can do for her. But Somehow I feel she needs help and support right now. She looks as tough as ever, but only I, who has been taking pictures of her all this time, can tell. Aw. A viewfinder, after all, is also a window to look into someone's heart. But if I say something like that, she'll tease me again, so I won't. Anyway, I never thought she knew to support more strongly than I do right now. This reminds me. Someone also said last episode about how Takano goes against the message of Higurashi, which is communication and what was it? Communication and trust. I think that's it. She goes against communication and trust, and as we can see there, by the time of Kazumi's death, Takano, in her own mind, feels like she's isolated. She's completely isolated. There's no one she cares about in the world left anymore. Hifumi's dead, Kazumi's dead, and there's really no one else to rely on. And as we can see, Tomoki is trying to reach out to her. He wants to help her. He wants to so bad, but he can't. He doesn't have enough strength to do it. But he knows that she needs support in this very hard time she's having. And he wants to help her, but he just can't. He just can't at all. And it honestly, makes sense in the world Takano's in of, political, espionage and factions going against each other, all that. She's distrustful of pretty much everyone around her, And so by this point, she's become isolated. I think after the death of Kazumi, she becomes pretty much isolated, and she doesn't have to rely on Tomoki or Iri anymore. She doesn't care for them, not at all. Because the people she cared about are both dead. So she will devote, whatever time she has left to researching the Hinazawa syndrome and basically make it public as her kind of revenge on the world in order to have her grandfather's name be spread around, of the Hinazawa syndrome outbreak. It's very interesting. Is it, the best types of villains are, there's two types of, best villains, just sympathetic ones and ones that go against the core message of the story. And it's very impressive that Takano can embody both of them, being both a sympathetic villain and also go against the message of the work itself. I think that's it's great writing, in my opinion. It's very great writing. Okay, deja vu. I've just been in this space before.
中川君ずいぶんの久方ぶりになるね。最近はやってるのかい？あれいえいえ、もうさっぱりです。年は取りたくないもんですな。クレイやるときは集中してやらないとダメだよ。あんまり間を空けすぎると勘が鈍っちゃって意味ない。先生、ご紹介します。高野さんさです。
はじめまして。本日はお忙しい中、お時間をお割きくださいましてありがとうございます。
ああ、別に君のために時間を割いたわけじゃない。うまい生ウニが食わせてもらえるって話でね。
Sea urchins, huh?
ウニはいいんだよ君。ビタミン A が豊富でね。お肌に特にいいんだとか。
We got myself some sea urchins.
女性は大好きでしょウニ。
It is true that sea urchins are rich in vitamin A, but compared to spinach, it's not anything that's worth making a fuss about. Well, none of that matters right now. He just seemed like an unpleasant man, so I wanted to criticize him. These men are the directors of the Alphabet Project who control the funding for the Erie Institute. They are also people who are in a position of being able to offer their opinions to those directors. To put it in a simpler way, they are the new owners of the Erie Institute. Although not as much as Uncle Kazumi was, they are also leaders and influencers in various fields. I have to be very careful not to upset them, and therefore there's no way I would have had the ability to call them in. By using the influence that the Kazumi faction once had, I finally managed to get this chance. Uncle Kazumi, who gave me his full support and made everything go my way, is not here anymore. I'm on my own from this point on, and will open up a path. But this stage just doesn't belong to me today. I can't let the people who offered me this chance lose face, so I have to wait patiently until it's my turn. My primary objective today is to explain what a prominent research subject the Imazawa syndrome is, and require an indefinite extension for our research. They only ever think about money, so they aren't even realizing the hidden potential of Imazawa syndrome. They don't recognize that it's worth spreading a lot of money on. This is not mere research on the existence of an unknown parasite, but something that may overthrow the basic foundations of anthropology. A Nobel Prize wouldn't even be enough. It won't be easy trying to explain all that to men who know nothing about any of it, but I have to. That's why I spent so many hours making these straightforward support documents. Sometimes we make documents confusing on purpose because we don't like dealing with uneducated people, but this time it's different. I can't look down at them. I must sincerely try to make them understand. The accessible support documents are there in a huge pile. It feels like we're wasting time eating traditional Japanese food in such a relaxed mood. I want to get to the point and explain to them in detail so they can understand. But there's the saying, luck lies in the last helping. I have to be patient right now.
正直ね、これまでのアルファベットはあまり良くないと思うのです。結局こいつは未だ頭の中が時代遅れの年寄りどものね、お砂場みたいなもんだったんですな。
年寄りどもが自分のじゃない金で過去の栄光を取り戻す夢を描くお砂場です。そんな年寄りどもの妄想のために一体どれだけの公金が垂れ流されたやら。
聞いた話じゃ、奥野先生あたりが検察をつっついて旧理事会を横領で追わせてるらしいですな。
年寄りたちをよいしょしてうまい汁を吸っていた連中の末路ですな。もっとも表沙汰にはできんでしょうから、別件で隕石左遷といった形になるんでしょうが、いやはや、これも戦前の亡霊をずっと野放しにしていた日本のツケですな。いやー、この野球にの汁もたまらない。
これは手厳しい。そんな中で先生にこんなお願いをするのは非常になんですが、一つお時間を頂戴できればと思いまして。
入江機関さんでしたっけ。確か長野だか岐阜の方で風土病の研究をされてるんでしたな。どういうことになってましたっけ。
理事会の決定で軍事転用研究が中止に。あと研究そのものも3年以内に段階的終了に決定しています。ああ、いえ、これは継続協議中でした。まあそのいずれにしましても数年以内に閉鎖になる予定です。
思い出した。入江機関さんは旧理事会でも評判が悪かったみたいですな。何しろ莫大な予算をほとんど無審査で吸い取ってましたからね。
某大先生がどういうわけか このプロジェクトをやたら後押しされてたみたいでしてね。その絡みもあって結局誰も文句が言えずに放置されてきたってのが実際のようです。
まあでもな、もう大先生は女癖が悪かったからそれもあったのかもしれませんな。
Is he implying that I slept with Uncle Kazumi? He's insulting both of us. I own my anger and I can't let myself be bothered by something like this.
それで本日は当機関の研究内容について説明させていただき、当機関に対する理事会の決定についてどうかご再考をお願いしたいと思いましてお時間を頂戴させていただきました。本日はこのような場へご多忙な中お越しいただきましたことを深く御礼申し上げます。
ま、ただでウニが出てくるわけはないってことですな。
I explained to them how much the Himizawa syndrome mattered while being very careful not to go too fast. I tried to let them know that the syndrome's potential is not limited to small things like military applications, but is much more meaningful than that. It may explain ideology and religion. It may even shake the very definition of a human being. I took my time to explain as slowly and clearly as possible. I'm not confident that all of it had gone through to these bullish men, but I'm happy if they understood even just a part of it. As long as they understand how much of a magnificent discovery Himizawa syndrome really is.
ありがとうサンサ。なるほど。
ちょっと検討したいので、サンサには一度下がってもらってよろしいですかな。
はい。それでは失礼させていただきます。
Obviously, they can't discuss in front of me. I left all the documents with them. All I could do now was hope they viewed them favorably. I left the room and closed the sliding door. The room next door is a preparation room, so I was to head there. But I stopped. I shouldn't have done it, but I tried to listen in through the sliding door.
こりゃなんと言いますか。全理事の皆さんも気の毒としか言いようがありませんな。
いや小泉先生がですね、非常に強く押されていまして。
小泉先生にはローベル製薬日本法人の初代顧問に就任された時に一度お会いし、とても聡明な方だなという印象を強く持っていたのですが、
人間年には勝てないということですな。何事も引き際が肝心だと思い知らされますよ。
ただですね、ひなみ沢症候群という非常に珍しい病気があるのは事実でございまして、決して全てが全て妄想というわけではありませんでして。
入江機関はすでに病気の解明と治療薬の開発に成功しているというじゃありませんか。それで十分ですよ。
現代日本にとって周辺諸国を過敏にさせる件については厳に慎むべきです。中でも軍事分野は最も敏感と言えるでしょう。少なくとも数年間にわたり軍事目的の研究がされていた事実は直ちに抹消しなくてはなりません。
それは軍事研究の中止とは別に。
そうです。ひなみ沢症候群は生物兵器開発のための研究という事実は直ちに研究を中止したとしても残ります。ひなみ沢症候群を目的は何であれ研究した事実は厳重に隠蔽されなければなりません。できればひなみ沢症候群そのものがなくなってしまうのが好ましい
ですな。病気が残ればやがては関心を持つ者が現れ、せっ かく埋めた穴をわざわざ掘り返す輩が現れないとも限りません。理事会の決定通り、入江機関は病気を撲滅させ次第、研究の痕跡を全て消した上で解散させるのがいいでしょ
う。やはりそういう結論に行き着きますな。ノーベル賞が取れるかどうかが問題ではなく、戦後日本にとって無用な研究だということです。そもそも大昔から存在し、特に異常もなくやってこれたわけでしょ。やぶをつっつく研究なのではと当初から思っていました。
同感ですな。ひなみ沢症候群という病気の存在自体は疑わないが、この高野という第一発見者は少々この病気を脚色しすぎですな。私も資料を読みながらユニークな発想をする人だなぁと思っておりました。第一、寄生虫で人の思想が染まるなんて聞いたことがない。そりゃいくらなんでもひどすぎる。
If we try to explain religious within the Buddha, Christ, all those people would be, once again, queen carriers. If we try expressing something like this, we'd be attacked by every nation on the planet. Religion's pretty scary nowadays.
動物の脳に寄生する寄生虫がいるなら、たまには人間の脳に寄生する寄生虫がいてもいいとは思う。しかし、その寄生虫が思想や人格までもコントロールする可能性なんてのはさすがにこりゃちょっとユニークすぎます。
As I peeked in through the gap in the sliding door, I became trapped with an unbelievable sense of deja vu. This is my first time experiencing this, but it doesn't feel that way. I don't know why, but the memory is so sad, so painful. Huh? Why, tears. Before I realized it, I saw a very nostalgic carpeted room on the other side of the sliding door, instead of a room covered in tatami mats. The room is filled with the smell of dust mixed with the smell of some evaporated medicine, but it's very soothing to me just the same. And there is my grandfather. His article that he poured his heart into was made a mockery of, yet he wasn't even allowed to cry. This isn't a delusion, because within the documents I left with those men, there are a lot of references to the article my grandfather wrote. So I'm not surprised for my grandfather to be standing right there, explaining it to them himself. Together with my tears from seeing the sight of my beloved grandfather, I watched these men insult and belittle his masterpiece. I have seen the sight before, and the sight should have ended there. But why is it repeating before my eyes? I can only blankly peek through the sliding door at this strange world where reality and illusion overlap.
あのサンサもちょいとおかしいし、こんな世まいごとを信じた小泉先生もおかしいが、やはりこの第一発見者の論文が一番おかしいですな。
期待と妄想が入り混じっていて、これは論文というより創作の次元ですな。というか、これはこのままどこかの出版社に持ち込んで本にした方がウケると思いますよ。
確かに確かに。私の友人に出版社の社長をやってるのがいてね、きっと面白がって読んでくれると思いますよ。
笑い事ではありませんぞ、皆様方。このとんでもない研究がまかり通って巨額の予算が数年間にもわたって投じられていたのですからな。特にひどいのは、万一の場合に備えて相当危険な機材を用意しているという点です。これは絶対に国民に知られてはならないことです。
計画が存在しただけでも恐ろしいのに、終末作戦なんて 緊急措置の存在を知られてしまったら国外はおろか国内世論も敵に回すことになるだろうね。しかもその機材の維持費がすごいことになってるじゃないか。
そんなの本当に維持費にしてるわけないじゃないですか。そういう名目にしてトンネルしてる架空プロジェクトでしょ、どうせ。
大体何でしたっけ。少女が一人死ぬだけで村人が一斉に異常行動を起こす病気なんて、あなたどこの漫画の話ですか。
まったくまったく、こんな子供騙しを鵜呑みにして巨額の予算を垂れ流すとはつくづくいかんと思いますな。こんな資料を真に受ける連中がいるというんだから、実にバカバカしいことです。
As he said that, he placed the documents down with an exaggerated gesture. Actually, I should say he slammed them down, because the papers ended up scattered all over the floor.
ですよな。あ、ちょいと失礼。お手洗いに。
One of the men stood up and stepped on the papers. And they weren't the papers at the tatami mats, but the ones on the carpet. Right there I can see my grandfather filled with heart-rending sadness. Yet he can't let it show on his face. Grandfather's expression didn't change, yet it seemed distorted to me. I could see the walls of my grandfather's study crumpling and twisting behind him. I jumped into the room. I grabbed onto the man's legs. I don't hate him. No, it's not whether I hate him or not. Sure, I hate him, but that's not it. I just can't forgive the feet stepping in my grandfather's article. Those feet are still stepping on the papers. I tried to make them move, but they won't even budge as though they've grown roots. So I begged as I grabbed onto his legs. I tried to pull the papers from under his feet, but I can't move his feet. I can't pull out the papers. My sobbing echoed in that silent room, but just like it did back then. Oh, shit. God damn it, that last part got to me. Fuck. It's God. I don't know. I feel like it's part of human nature to just feel sadness for someone's hard work to quite literally be stepped on. I don't know. It's just God. And it's also, something about like how you try to explain to powers that be that just, quite literally a board of old men or whatever that can't even barely understand anything of your hard work. Hell, you could make could make a statement about like how maybe it's probably the same fucking thing on YouTube, pandering to the algorithm and bullshit like that, and maybe one day you'll be blessed by the luck of the die with a 6 and get recommended to someone. And it's very hard to create the things you truly want to create, while at the same time trying to pander, trying to pander to powers that be, people in higher positions, for the work you work so hard on. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to just see all that work just gone to waste. you know. God. God damn, man. Shit. Again, that scene. Just like last time, I didn't think that scene would get to me, but it again got to me because it's such a human feeling of all your work just being crushed under. It's just such a just devastating feeling. Just everything you've worked towards leading to nothing, and quite literally all of the research going to be burned afterwards. So it's like, what the hell was the point of it all, you know? Jesus. God. Okay. New Wind. The Ryu family. Okay, I think we can do this one.
それじゃ俺はそろそろおいとましますわ。どうもごちそうさまでした。
ねえねえ。また来たってな。
ただいま。ってあれ、広志おじさん。お久しぶりです。
おお、ニオンちゃん。今帰りかい。おじさんは今から送迎だよ。
送迎？ああ、不動産屋さんのお仕事？
The Sozaki family is one of the largest landowners here in the Himizawa area. However, since all the land is out here in the countryside, it just ends up sitting there. Recently, the land owned by the Sonozaki family was put on sale in lots. At the family meeting, some of our relatives opposed the idea by saying we shouldn't sell off land that was handed down from our ancestors. But Granny snapped and shut them right up. Some of the unused fields were made into vacant lots and released for public sale. Actually, I had some questions about it too. The Sonozaki family is very wealthy. We have plenty of land, as well as money. So why did we have to sell it off? What's more surprising to me is that Granny was the one who came up with the idea. I would have thought she'd get furious if someone even mentioned something like that. Possibly a indication of our use. Trying for the future. Hope for the future, because Oryu is also an interesting character who she hopes for a new generation to come in to eventually replace her, you know. So setting up these lots, you know, will eventually, you know, get Keichi in, and, you know, that's the new one that sweeps across Himizawa.
麦茶くらいごちそうするから。
はい、ありがとうございます。お仕事はどんな感じですか？
都会な人が案外興味を持ってくれたからびっくりだわ。便利な都会に住みながら、わざわざこんな田舎に別荘が持ちたい小金持ちばっかりだね。
やれやれ、物好きなことで。
一見別荘じゃなくて引っ越しで検討されてるお宅があったね。アトリエが持ちたいとか言ってたから、画家さんとかかね。
へえ、そりゃすごいや。
おっと、いけねえわ。じゃ、おじさんはバスに戻るわ。
Supposedly he planned a tour to show them the lots, but and he's the one driving the bus. It should be about time for the tour and explanations to end. He left in a hurry.
ねえ、聞いていい？よそ者嫌いのバッチャがさ、どうしてわざわざ分譲地なんかにしたの？
あたしゃよそ者なんか嫌いだし、都会者も大嫌いだ。だが村にゃ必要なんよ。空気の入れ替えみたいなもんさな。
外の人が来ることで何か村にいい影響があるっていうこと？
こかい村だね。今忙しい世の中だから一日たりともそったしといとくらんかな。昔だったら 10年20年住んでても何にも変わらん変化のない静かな村だったんよ。
まあそれが田舎ってもんだしね。この村じゃ昨日と今日と明日に何の違いもない。私は退屈だけどね。
でも友達ができたろ。外から竜宮のレナちゃんが引っ越してきて友達になってくれたんだろうが。近い年の友達ができて嬉しい言うとったがな。
うん。予期せぬ友達が突然できるのは楽しいね。
レナちゃんが来んとな。ミオン学校が退屈だ退屈だ言うとったんね。いや覚えとる。
それが外から引っ越してくることによる効果だって言いたいわけ？
どんな寒い冬場にかてたまには換気をせんとな。いろりの悪い空気がたまって窒息しちまう。
Ain't that the truth?
寒くてしんどいのは承知で窓をガラリと開けることもあるんよ。
外から人を迎えることが村の換気になる。
ああ、なるん。そしてきれいな空気を入れてあたしらみたいな悪い空気はとっとと追い出されるべきなんよ。
If I bring up the Hojo family, I know Granny will explode, so I won't. But I think what Granny is trying to say includes things like their ongoing isolation. Even now, when she remembers about what happened at the explanatory meeting, she gets really upset. But I guess even she feels that needs to come to an end. But of course, she can't just say she'll forgive them, not when she's at this stubborn age. She can't lose face by openly saying they need to be forgiven. Honestly, I think she's behaving like a little schoolgirl who actually likes a person but treats them rudely when they're around. Yeah. Maybe people really do go back to being children when they get old enough. Yeah, blah blah. I'm not just talking about Granny. The same can be said about all of the old people in the village. No, maybe I should say the evil around here. That must be what she meant by bad air. There's no use circulating the air in a closed room. Unless you open the windows and let fresh air in, the air in the room won't be purified.
実際に引っ越してくる人があるかはわからないけど、その人にそこまでを期待しちゃうのは気の毒じゃない？
レナちゃんが一人転校してきてもミオンは変わるね。誰が引っ越してきてもきっと村は変わる。願わくばそれが元気な若者でわしら年寄り連中が安心して村を任せられるくらい大暴れしてくれよると嬉しいんだが、それこそ年寄り連中がもうやっとれんね、あの世に退散するわいうくらいにな。
何それ？死んだおじいちゃんの話？
あ、ほんたれ。誰がじいさまの話をしたんよ。ほれ、お手伝いさん言って縁側のお茶を片付けさせてくれな。
The tea set on the verdana. Yep.
へいへい。了解了解。
ミオン。
ん？
北条聡が消えた日、お前あたしに詰め寄ったろが。
ああ、そんなこともしたね。
あたしゃな、あれで目が覚めたんよ。北条家がどうのこうのいう問題は、年寄り連中が死ねば時間が解決してくれるなんてんじゃあかんね。そんなの待たず、はよ解決せんとなあかん。
でも自分にはそれができないから、よそ者にそれを託す。
それがあたしにできる精一杯だね。
どんな悪い手札だって次のドローでいい札が入れば流れが変わるきっかけになることもある。それに期待して山から札を引くのもありかもしれない。
新しい風は見よ、お前らの世代になる。外の風を迎え入れたれな。そしてお前は内からの風となって混じり合いながら村のよどみを吹き飛ばしてくれ。
他力本願の極みだね。自分が火種を作ったくせに孫にその尻拭いをさせるとは。
そういいなや。新しい風を新しい園崎家の当主として村に招き入れたれ。
It's very interesting, the dichotomy of change, of how it can be both good and bad. Bad in the way that Kazumi died, and so the new board of directors pretty much suspend the Era Institute and step over all the hard work Takano, both Era and Takano worked towards. Well, it doesn't really affect Era because he just wants to cure the disease itself, but it affects Takano the most. Of all that hard work, being destroyed, being stepped on quite brutally because of one little change. Well, here we can see change can be good by airing out the room, then, so to speak, by bringing in Keichi, who solves the old problems that everyone's become used to. That's become status quo by this point, and that the people in power cannot do what they want, for they'll lose face.
それが次期当主の仕事だってんなら
頼むわ。みよ、あたしゃおいたね。もう憎まれ役しかできん。
You know what's really funny? It's so interesting how the Tokyo organization and Hinazawa are very similar in nature. Even though they're completely two different worlds. There are people in power, there are people who want to change, there are people, fighting each other. I guess the thing that separates Himizawa and Tokyo would be the unity of Hinazawa. Well, Tokyo is split into many different political factions, like every other political party, to be perfectly honest. Everyone's out for their own damn agenda, never caring about the whole, but caring for themselves. The wind chime sounded quietly. Maybe that's a sign to let us know a cool breeze is on the way. But it's very cool how the whole secretive world of politics is parallel to Himizawa and how they're very similar in nature, I guess I could call it. Let's see here. I think we can... I'm pretty sure we can do this one. Alright, let me save real quick. Get to the end of this, finally. With 3 fucking videos. But I'm pretty sure we can do this. Yep. No, here comes the dumb music. I don't know what to do. Yeah, same, bro. My name is Ichiro Maribawa, and I am hopelessly lost. I came to Himizawa in a tool to find a lot for vacation home. When the realtor finished explaining some details, he told us to take a walk until the departure time. Such beautiful scenery and fresh air. All my senses guided me, and here I am. Where am I? Where the fuck am I? Still have a little time before the departure, but I'm completely lost. This is basically the middle of nowhere, but people actually do live here. If I keep walking, I should run into somebody, and I can ask for directions. Don't worry. The only thing I need to keep in mind is the departure time for the bullet train. The more time passes, the more I start to think I was being too optimistic about running into somebody. Because I can't find anybody at all. Maybe I'm walking farther and farther away from where people are, in which case I'm in serious trouble. So upon hearing someone's voice, I feel immensely relieved. It sounds like the little girls are playing nearby. If it's a place where little kids can play, it must be a safe village. I follow those voices. This is a beautiful background. Upon rounding the wild pampas grass, I can see a beautiful field. 2 girls are playing there. They are dancing in the field filled with blooming wild flowers. What I'm seeing is more beautiful than all of the great works of art I've ever seen put together. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but this looks holier than any religious painting. Why is it that seeing innocent girls dance around like this makes people feel this way? It's probably because we're sinners. Can't live with pleasure and glory alone. We sin, even as we live. That's why we feel awed by the sight of innocence. It reminds us of the time when we were pure. We grow up naturally, and we lose innocence as we do. And we admire and adore the children who symbolize that which we lost.
みーとかなんとか小難しいことを言いながら変な不審者が僕たちをじっと見ていますのです。はあ。
She's not transparent?
いいか、あれは不審者ではありませんのです。
Eh? Sorry, I'm not suspicious.
とか言いながら僕の美しさから目が離せないのです。ニパー。
No, I'm not. Don't turn me in. I really wasn't staring. I was using this mirror to fix my hair.
何言ってるかわかんないのですが、とっても面白いことを言っている気がしますのです。なんというか、血は争えないという気がしますです。
The girls teased me for a while, and when they got tired of doing that, they went back to dancing around. Realizing that whatever I said would backfire, I decided to leave them alone and sat down to watch them play. I wonder how old they are. They seem rather young, but maybe they could be close to Keichi's age. If we move here, Keichi might meet them at school. If he would see them at school, then they were girls that lived here. If all the children in Himizawa are like them, then even if living a rural life may have some challenges, there's a good reason for us to move here. We're not very good parents. We didn't understand what Keichi was going through and left him alone until the very end. According to the parenting book I bought, the first few problems are calls for help. It doesn't matter what the action itself is, but the fact that those actions are occurring is a primitive appeal from the children seeking communication. Humans can speak, It's one of the reasons why we don't notice such signs. We can only hear words through our ears, and we can't sense the signs coming from our son's heart. Keichi probably thinks it's all his fault. Of course he's not absent of blame. Humans aren't dogs or cats. We should know what's right and what's wrong. But it's our fault too, as his parents. To let him think that he had to go that far for us to be able to understand him is really pathetic and disappointing of us. If we had understood him and hadn't cornered him, Keichi wouldn't have done that. So the incidents weren't only Keichi's fault. Everyone in the Maibara family was to blame. I want to explain that to him, but he's still too young and hot-headed to be able to understand. Right now, the guilt he's feeling is basically crushing him under its weight. He doesn't even have the will to live. My wife is the same. She's blaming herself for forcing him to study for better grades. She thinks that's why the incidents took place. And I'm no different. I'm blaming myself for not being involved in my son's education. I think that's why the incidents took place. The cross will be forever on our shoulders, even after the injured child accepts our apologies. Yet our cold society would tell us to die under the weight of that cross. Even so, we have to live. We have to accept our sins and carry our burdens on our shoulders. Maybe we can start a new life here in this village. I thought about all that as I watched the girls dance. Keichi needs friends like them. Friends like those girls will offer him so much more than the friends who only talked about crammed schools and exam results. The girls are playing near a sign that doesn't fit into this open field. It's a sign about lots for sale, and the name of the realtor brought me here for the tools written on it. Does that mean we can live even in this beautiful area if we wanted to? One of the girls spoke as if reading my mind.
ここはいい村なのですよ。きっと都会にはなかったものがあるのです。
Yeah, that's right. I think so too.
でもこの村にないものをきっと都会のあなたが持ってきてくれる気がするのです。
Do we have anything?
ありますのですよ。ああ。僕たちはこの村で何百年間もこうしています。そこには誰も訪れず、何も起こりませんです。だから何も起きないし、何も変えられない。
Isn't that what's good about this place?
何かを変わりたいと思うからこの村に来たのじゃないのですか？
Yeah, you're right about that.
僕たちも新しい人を迎えたい。それは例えるなら水の流れ出ぬ沼の堰を破るようなもの。水は出入りがあるからこそ清水となる。確かにこの村は明治のついこの間まで沼の名前がついた村でしたのです。でもそれが変わり、ひなみ沢という地名に変わりましたのです。沼の水は流れずよどむ。でも沢の水はよどまない。
それにね、あなたたちが教えてくれるのよ。堰は破れるものだ、破るものだってね。
Are they playing riddles with me? I have no idea what they're trying to say. Well, there's one thing I know. The villagers are waiting for new people to come here, and they want to build a future with those newcomers. I looked at the sign behind the girls one more time, so that I remember this place. I've already decided.
引っ越してくるのを待っていますですよ。前原。
ああ、
たいた。お客さん、こんな遠くまで行っちゃダメですよ。
The raspy voice from the distance ended this innocent moment. It's a realtor. I guess he's been looking for me because I didn't return. Sorry about that. I got lost. I apologized while scratching my head. Turned around to look for the girls, but they weren't there anymore. Wait a minute, did that wooden girl have horns? Fuck. Some reason that also kind of tugged at my heartstrings. Fuck. I don't know. God damn, that scene was just so... How the fuck do I describe that scene? So... hopeful. That's the word. Hopeful. Hopeful of the future. Hopeful of change. I guess you could say the time... You could say the time loop is like a stagnation of a certain place and time. But you can't just live in a stagnated piece of time for all eternity. You have to change. Be it good or bad, change still comes. And we all have to face it. You know, change can be losing friends. Change can be gaining friends. Change, man. Isn't change such an interesting thing? Okay. Yeah, I think we could just do this one. Keichi Marabawa. Keichi, don't say stuff like that. The people in this area love coming here. That was my first impression of the Himizawa branch school. No matter how I look at it, it doesn't look like a school at all. It even has a sign that says Himizawa Forestry Service.
まあ確かに我が校は営林署さんの敷地をお借りしておりますからの。
Said the man they called the principal as he laughed heartily.
学び屋は違っても学校であることは同じです。前原くんがこれまで通われていた学校とはいろいろルールが違うと思いますが、大丈夫ですか？
はい。
I heard all the grades are put in the same classroom as the school. I didn't believe it, but I think it really is true. They're all younger than I am, so I guess it would be like kindergarten. Although, it will be interesting compared to my previous school where everyone looked the same age.
前原くんが転校してきたら、男子の中では最年長になると思います。ですので、自分の勉強だけでなく、下級生たちの模範になるよう示さなければなりません。
Yes, Keiichi is a very good role model.
下級生は上級生の悪い癖をすぐに真似します。先生もそこは厳しく注意していますから、前原くんも下級生に悪い影響を与えないよう常に襟を正していてくださいね。
わかりました。努力します。
Keiichi. What she means is that textbooks aren't the only things you learn from. As a member of the class and also as an older student, you have to be a good example. I know that already. After that, Chi-sensei brought us to an empty classroom and showed me where my desk would be. Since we're all still growing, I'm sure our sizes are very different. There are some desks that are way too small for me to even put my legs under, also some that are just perfect for me. There are approximately 30 desks in here, but since all the different grades are in the same room, I'm sure it's very lively. There's also a wall full of calligraphy and art from different grades. It's all pretty exciting, nothing like my previous school. It reminds me of the days when I truly enjoyed my school life.
父さん、俺気に入ったよ。優 やっぱり町の学校よりこっちの学校の方がいいや。
And I think my son likes it here. I want him to go to his school too.
そうですか。沖宮の学校の方が設備もちゃんとしていますし、立派な先生方もたくさんおられますのに。
Even while saying that, Chi-sensei looked happy to hear that a new student would be transferring into her class. My father and the teachers went back to the teacher's office to get the transfer process going. In the meantime, I decided to stay in the classroom and look around. I didn't care about the move. I lost the will to live because of what I did. I didn't have any willpower and I couldn't even get out of bed. So when my parents told me about the move, I thought that wouldn't change anything. But after the move, something did change. I want to restart my life. I want to restart my life and become someone I've always wanted to be. Here in Himizawa and at this school, I can do that. I'm not going back to who I was. I'll never again think that good grades are the most important thing in this world. I have a feeling that I can learn the things that are really important in life here at this school. I never had the chance to learn them before now. It's almost embarrassing to put into words. But they're extremely valuable things, and if you don't learn them, you won't become a decent adult. The students at this school learned them a long time ago. To them, they are given. Yet I have to spend time learning about them even at this age. How to make friends. How to play with friends. To play. Things you can only learn from play. Things like socializing with others. Etc. etc. It seems so easy. But it'd take me a while to learn them. I pushed those things aside and devoted myself to studying. I'm not trying to say studying is important, but you shouldn't become blinded by it. If someone says studying and good grades are the most important things in life, he's talking bullshit. So I can restart my life here at this school. Finally, I can become someone I've always wanted to be. I noticed two girls looking at me through the window. The schoolyard must also be a playground for these children because I saw a lot of them playing there earlier. I guess those two noticed me walking around the classroom and became curious. Guess that's natural. I'm a stranger to them. Should I say hello and let them know that I'm starting school next Monday?
ようやく引っ越してきたのです。僕は待ち疲れたのですよ。ああ。でもこれでまた変わってくるのです。だって圭一はサイコロの6なのですから。6ではありますですが、圭一の振るサイコロは1がよく出上がりますです。はあ、圭一が悪いわけではありませんのです。全部羽生が悪いのです。お前のせいなのです。圭一に謝れなのです。はあ。
俺の名前を知ってるのか?
She said my name, didn't she? Did I hear her wrong? Never met her before.
ミパー。転校生なのですか?
ああ、よろしくな。前原圭一ってんだ。今度の月曜から来ることになると思うぜ。仲良くしてくれよな。
仲良くしましょうなのです。圭一に古出神社の巫女さんがありがたいお告げなのです。転校初日は教室の扉が鬼門なので入るときは注意なのです。
The goddamn water bucket.
あと椅子の背中に画鋲、机の中にはカエルのおもちゃまで入ってます。でも何度警告しても圭一は何度でも引っかかるのです。月曜日はかわいそうなのです。
だから面白いのだけれど、たまにはそんな運命も打ち破ってみて。あなたがそれを教えてくれるのよ。あまたの世界の一つでね。
は？
うん？
I'll be reminded of the prophecy made by the two girls next Monday because of the actions of the snaggle-toothed girl. Now I realize the two wait though, but I like it here. My name is Keichi Marabara. This is my new beginning, and this time, I'm going to enjoy it to the fullest. I've been missing out on so much, but I'm going to learn all of those things here. I'm going to absorb all of it, and I'll become someone I've always wanted to become. It may take a very long time, but I'll definitely do it. What the hell are these scenes doing to me, dude? I don't know. It's just... These scenes seem so... These scenes both like a beginning and a finality feeling to it, you know? That's what I'm getting from it, at least. Pulls on the heartstrings. Pulls on the heartstrings. This is the final chapter of Higurashi, you know? It's pulling on that damn heartstring. Okay, I think I, yeah, did all of those. And it seems like Hanyu has finally manifested into the real world, which is, hey, that's something to, you know, comment on. I guess it shows her, like, what's a good word to describe it? Finally becoming a part of it. Not being a bystander anymore, not being an observer, but finally be involving herself into this because of the events of Chapter 7. So, invitation to the end. Alright, let's do this one. Grandfather's articles were trampled on. We have proof as clear as the pathogen causing Himizawa syndrome, so why can't they believe in its life cycle? Let me X out the last things I have. Is here anything else? No. There's only two things left. The revenge of Takano and the game board must be set up. We have proof as clear as the pathogen causing Himizawa syndrome, so why can't they believe in its life cycle? Because they've never heard of that before? Because they can't imagine it? Because there's no way something so absurd could be true? Don't tell me that. I can't bring myself to care about the limits of those commoners' understanding. Why can't anyone believe the truth of my grandfather's article, which has been proven by the Erie Institute? Why do people continue to believe that humans are special existence? Humans are simply a species of animal. When various parasites that control their animal hosts exist, how can people acquire parasites that use humans that their hosts don't? Wait, this isn't the problem. Not at all. Because everyone believed in my grandfather's article up until now. Isn't that why the Ministry of Health and the Defense Agency lent me their assistance? But out of nowhere, they turned cold. In other words, every bit of their help was because Uncle Kazumi had my back. So nobody actually read my grandfather's article? Did they just pretend it to in order to make Uncle Kazumi happy? What is the meaning of everything I've done up until today? I thought I achieved something, but what have I really accomplished? I don't know what's going on, and all I can do is wallow in grief. The more I think about it, the more I no longer understand the meaning of my own life. Didn't Mio Takano devote her life to being useful for her grandfather? Then I haven't done anything for him at all. Count 3 with my grandfather and I go on to count 4. What a crazy thing to say. No. If I let my mind wander, doubt about myself and my life will slip in. So I'm just going to fill the gap in my heart with alcohol. Is it that strange to presume the existence of something that can influence human thoughts? It's sure that Himizawa syndrome isn't the actual cause of ideology. The best it could do is drive people mad. socialism or capitalism that would originate with it. In the area my grandfather was living, you couldn't talk about the world without ideology. The article came from that time and age, so some of its influences may be exaggerated, biased, but that's no reason to deny its foresight. You can't simply say it's crazy and push it aside. Besides, the most important thing they ignored is the fact that Rika Furude, the Queen Carrier, holds the fate of the village in her hands. My grandfather had predicted the importance and danger of the Queen Carrier since beginning his research on the Himizawa syndrome. But the hypothesis of the infected community collapsing into madness if the Queen Carrier dies is a Pandora's box that can't be proven. It can only be confirmed after Rika Furude's death, and if she dies, it will be too late. But there's no mistake that Rika Furude is the Queen Carrier and a very special existence. It's clear from the various experiments we've performed that she has a special influence on the infected villagers. Her death really could trigger the collapse of the entire village. That's no mistake. My grandfather predicted it. To say all of that sounds like a comic book, it's just too cool. For them to call the various preparations we've made to protect her a fictional project that was used to tunnel funds. What I'm doing now is simply what my grandfather was going to do. Therefore, insulting my research is the same as insulting my grandfather. According to my grandfather's article, the first thing that needs to be done when researching the syndrome is to protect a Queen Carrier. Yet they ridiculed that more than anything else. The more I think about it, the more the words stick in my memory. I can almost hear their voices, and I can't stop myself from covering my ears. I'm sure the members of the board of the directors think I'm crazy. I was trying to petition for the Air Institute to not be shut down, but it backfired. The members must think that Himizawa syndrome is some kind of joke, and I'm sure they'll push even harder now to put a stop to our research. If that happens, I would have to go back to researching as an individual. In other words, the same as what my grandfather did. There's a limit to what an individual could do. It's doubtful if I would even be able to get back to researching it individually. Once the Air Institute is disbanded, everyone is obligated to keep it confidential until we die. I signed a contract to that extent. That's not just a simple promise. If I were to break it, a special unit like the Mountain Dogs would come after me to ensure that I keep everything confidential. Even if that doesn't happen, the Air Institute has to eradicate the syndrome within a few years and to bury every trace of it, including results of our research. This isn't the normal process of research and treatment. They want to pretend nothing ever happened to begin with. I wanted to continue and complete my grandfather's work, but what's happening now will result in the complete opposite. I'm actually helping to eliminate my grandfather's hard-earned research from this world. The treatment has been created already. Although Ira is as passionate as I am about developing a cure, he is not particularly interested in any other aspect of our research. I hate to admit it, but he has more experience and talent than I do. I'm sure he'll come up with a plan for eradicating Himizawa syndrome within 3 years as requested by the new board of directors. And that board of directors will provide just enough funds to bury the syndrome. Yuri will do that happily. Just like the time when he disposed of all the research data on test medicine H170 was requested. All I can do is passively hinder them, just like they did me while watching the Himizawa syndrome get eradicated. And when everything is over, I will finally complete an article which is destined to be destroyed. Should I kill myself with thoughts of it in my head so I can at least present the article to my grandfather? He won't be happy even if I did that. On the contrary, he'll be disappointed in me for throwing the research he spent half of his life on down the drain. He won't embrace it, and I know that for sure. I wanted to reveal Himizawa syndrome to the world. I wanted the world to acknowledge my grandfather's masterpiece. I wanted to carve his name in history and promote him to a god. My grandfather waited, believing that day would come, and he must be patiently waiting still, even after entering his eternal sleep. But I ruined it. I wanted him to become a god. I was going to become a god myself too. Then we will be together forever, and I'll never have to be alone. If I become a god, God won't test me. There won't be any unhappiness. There won't be a sudden train accident. My grandfather won't go away, nor will Uncle Kazumi. I'll never have to go back to being alone. I am alone. I have no allies. I was just dancing in ecstasy on the stage without anybody watching. I had only just realized that there was no applause, but only ridicule. No, it's doubtful that there was actually anyone in the audience to begin with. My parents died, my grandfather died, and then Uncle Kazumi died. 3 times had God toyed with me with their rolls of the dice. I thought I overcame each of those trials with my own strength, but I didn't. I was protected by a new guardian each time. And this time I have no guardians left to protect me. When I first arrived in Himisawa, I had every intention of challenging God and kicking him off his throne. But now forget challenging God. I'm just a loser being toyed with. I suddenly can't find it within myself to care about anything. Because if I cared, I'd be swallowed by sadness, wilking my heart into alcohol as I could forget about everything. A luxurious black car abruptly stopped next to me. I became sober immediately, as cars like that reminded me of the time when I was captured after escaping from the orphanage. Suspicious-looking men in black suits and sunglasses got out from the car. I realized instantly they must have been sent by one of my clients. Being involved in the development of a biological weapon, being the main person responsible for it, and on top of that being mentally unstable. They obviously don't want me walking around freely. They're going to abduct me, seal me in concrete, and erase my existence. Or so I thought. I expected them to grab me and shove me into the car. But surprisingly, they bowed deeply to me instead. I'll be killed anyway. I can't make my grandfather's wish come true even if I live. Cynical thoughts like that ran through my head. And the person in the back seat said, I've never met this young woman before. She must be around my age. She knows about the Ear Institute, so she must be someone connected to my clients. She's too young to be one herself. I bet a client who doesn't want to expose himself sent her. Even if I live, I can't make my grandfather a god. I can't be a god myself either. Who cares about whether a loser like me gets killed anyway? I made up my mind and got into the back seat. As soon as I got in, the luxurious car smoothly took off. Silence filled the car for a time. They're the ones that invited me. I don't have anything to say myself. What is this?
そうでしたね。覚えていなくて申し訳ないです。
There were so many people at that funeral. I can't recall any of them. But why is that what she's opening with? Does that mean she belongs to the Kazumi faction?
小泉先生は戦後日本復興のオピニオンリーダーの一人として長く活躍されてきました。今日の平和日本を語る上で。 小泉先生の功績に触れずして説明することは難しいでしょう。戦後の焼け野原から復興するときに我が国の有志たちも一枚岩でしたが、残念ながら今もそうであるとは言えません。平和な時代が進み、 焼け野原を知らぬ世代の国の中枢に入り始めるにつれ、当初の高貴な志を知る者は次第に減っていってしまいました。小泉先生はそんな高貴な同志の最後の長老として21世紀へ我が国を導いてくださる大黒柱だったのですが、小泉先生の死後、小泉派は急速に没落。代わって他の派閥が勢力を伸ばし、いろいろと大変なことになっている。
I heard about these things from Jiro-san. It's really no different from the Son Goku era. When a ward and military leader died back then, the struggle to become his successor brought chaos to the nation. This country hasn't changed for hundreds of years.
その通りです。残念ながら平和日本は住みよい国づくりを実践してきましたが、同時に発足当時の高貴な志を忘れさせてもしまいました。現在東京は各派閥が小泉先生の明けた席と利権をめぐって争いが絶えない状態です。小泉先生をはじめすでに他界されている復興の功労者たちが知ったらきっとお嘆きになられるに違いありません。それと私に何の関係が？あなたはそれの最大の被害者ではありませんか。今日までに風向きが突然変わるような体験を十分にされていると思いますね。
It's true that our research began because of Kazumi-sensei's support, and the pressures we face under the anti-Kazumi faction have been tempestuous and cold. Maybe for them, every project that Kazumi-sensei left behind is an eyesore, regardless of what that project is. In other words, that simply means they rejected research itself, doesn't it? Come to think of it, something like this happened to my grandfather too. Back then, Kazumi brought out 40s from various fields to see him. They talked down to my grandfather despite the praise they'd given them earlier. Kazumi-sensei told me that the masterminds were responsible for that.
ひなみざわ症候群の研究はアルファベットプロジェクトで最大のもので、予算、体制その他プロジェクトの目玉だったと言っても過言ではありません。故にアルファベットの権益を独占したい連中によってあなたの研究はそのスケープゴートにされたのです。スケープゴート、決してひなみざわ症候群の研究が否定されたという意味ではないということです。彼らにとって重要なのはそのプロジェクトの派閥であり内容ではありません。本日高野さんに特にお伝えしたかったのはそこでした。結局私は見さしめの羊ということなのね。私が何の研究をしていようとどうでもいい。この研究が小泉派のものであったということだけが彼らの関心。そういうことです。派閥は風向きそのもの。順風な時もあれば逆風となる時もあります。その変わった風向きを取り戻すのは残念ながら容易なことではありません。私のクライアントたちが敵対的になったので元に戻すのは容易ではないということ。そうです。アルファベットプロジェクトは完全に乗っ取られてしまいました。理事は全て彼らの私欲を肥やすためだけに決定をします。あなたの捨て身の説明など初めから彼らには耳を貸す気もないのです。
Yeah, huh? I grasped my knees, remembering that humiliating day.
ここで一度話を折ります。それは研究者としての知的な好奇心か。あなたに祖父と呼び敬遠していた高野先生との約束ではないです。
Well, that's surprising. Kazumi-sensei once told me that this fact could become a hindrance, so I've never told any of my clients about it. How did she find out? They know that. Maybe they know a lot more about us than I think.
どこでそれを知ったんですか？小泉先生からです。え？私たちはあなたの敵ではありません。どうかお楽になさってください。私たちはあなたの本当の力になりたくてやってきたのです。
I don't know who she really is, but I know she's here because she wants something from me. So what is it that she wants? She knows about the relationship between my grandfather and me, so I can't be careless.
ただ、私たちがあなたの力になるのは、あなたに本当のことを話していただかなくてはなりません。つまり、腹を割っていただきたいということです。おっしゃる意味がわかりません。高野さんがひなみ沢症候群を研究する本当の目的は何ですか？
To have my grandfather's masterpiece acknowledged for what it is and to have him become a god.
高野先生の研究を世間に認めさせること、あなたの祖父が心を込めて書き上げた論文を踏みつけてないがしろにしたことへの復讐。
Shit. I'm reaching the limit of not letting my surprise show on my face. How much does this woman know about me? In the first place, who is she? How does she know everything I'm thinking? I can't just admit that out loud in any case. I have appearances to consider. But while this elegant woman was wearing an angelic smile, she laughed with the devil's seductive whisper, several times better at it than I am. The simple smile and a devilish grin are completely different. An ordinary smile means goodwill, but a malicious smirk means the complete opposite. This woman can read my deepest thoughts, and while doing so, she's testing me to see how honest I can be with her. Whether I tell her the truth or not isn't the issue here. She's testing me to see if I can trust her enough to confess everything.
もしも私の言っていることが全くの勘違いでしたら、どうかお許しください。
Who the hell is
お好き
this
な駅までお
woman?
送りさせます。この近くですと5ぐらい駅がいいでしょうか。でももし私の言っていることがあなたの本当の気持ちに少しでも近いのでしたら、私とあなたは力を貸し合える関係になれると思います。どうですか、高野美代さん。
I can't say anything in reply, but I think that simply remaining silent might also be an answer. I want to hear what she wants from me. I've always placed my objective as some vague idea of turning my grandfather into a god. But she's just taught me what my true objective is. I want to get revenge for my grandfather's suffering. I want those people to fight over the right to read the article they once trampled on and mocked. I want them to believe, no, to worship every single word my grandfather left behind. That is my true objective. This woman has stated out loud that which I have only whispered within myself. She even asked me if she was correct. Is this woman an angel or a devil? If I am human, is she in existence above me?
あなたの不幸は自分の目的を具体的に理解していなかったことなのです。だからいつまでも惰性で研究を続けても至らない。南沢症候群の神秘を探るという抽象的な目的を掲げ、いつまでも達成できず、自らの人生に疑問を抱かざるを得なかったのです。そうでしょ。 そう、それは違う。あなたの真の目的、思い浮かべることができますか？それはこういう状況。この国の中枢を預かる真の長官たちがあなたの祖父の論文を読み、その内容に驚きながら一点の疑いもなく信じてくれること。彼らは裏側に足跡が残るその論文をうやうやしく読み、その先見性あふれる研究に敬意を示し、恐れおののく。どう想像できましたかしら？
Who the hell is this woman? This is my first time envisioning something like this. And yet it's been my dream all along.
ひなみ沢症候群という言葉はあなたの祖父が作られたのでしょ。その言葉がこの国の津々浦々にまで響き渡り、あなたの祖父の生み出した言葉が永遠に刻まれて残る。永遠に刻まれて残る。そう、それはあなたの祖父がその偉業が永遠の存在に昇華されるということ。それがあなたが高の民として生涯に捧げる夢じゃないのかしら。
My grandfather's masterpiece will be remembered forever. Remembered forever.
その偉業を全く理解できない豚たちはあなたのその夢を単なるハラスアルソンや権益の奪い合いの生贄とし無残に踏みにじろうとしてあなたの祖父の論文をぎゅっと見つけたように。
Just how Takano met with God while it was raining when she was a young girl. Takano meets with the devil while it's raining.
あなたは悔しい。あなたが一生懸命作った資料はあなたのおじいちゃんが一生懸命作った論文と同じ。それを踏みにじり嘲笑った彼らを許せない。おじいちゃんの異様をバカにした豚どもが許せない。そうでしょ。そうじゃないですか。いいえ、本当はそう。それを心の土を見たら人を罵る言葉を知らず考え浮かばなかったです。
An indescribable emotion is filling me, making me feel like I'm suffocating. The sensation of being cautious and calm, of trust and mistrust are all blending together. My heart is beating fast and my fingertips are shaking. Why am I at peace? Is it because she reminded me of my true dream that I couldn't express with my own words until now? Is it because she made me aware of the anger within myself? Why am I hesitant? Is it because she's reminding me of things I've never told anyone until now? Those are the things I've never even told myself.
ねえ、ミオさん。もし私の言ったことが間違っていないどころか大正解なんだ。私はあなたどうなさったのかしら。大具合が悪いのかしら。ならもうこれ以上お話に付き合わせるのが悪いですよね。最寄りの駅へ送りましょう。
A small noise leaked pathetically out of my mouth, like a child apologizing for a prank.
何かおっしゃったかしら。
I know she heard me. The woman smiled, trying to make me say it again.
違います。具合悪くないです。ならよかったです。話を続けましょう。私の夢がそうなら、あなたに何ができるというんですか？あなたの2つの復讐をお手伝いします。一つはあなたの祖父のための復讐。あなたの祖父の論文を嘲笑った者たちにもう一度うやうやしく手に取らせてやりましょう。彼らが土足で踏みつけたその論文をね。もう一つはあなたと祖父の約束であり心のつながりでもある症候群の研究を派閥争いだけを理由に踏みにじり、研究を彼らの権益のためだけに終わらそうとする理事会への復讐。あなたの目の前で資料を踏みにじり、あなたの人生さえも踏みにじろうとした豚どもへの復讐。祖父の論文を手に取らせ、それを踏みにじった理事会に復讐する。こちらも腹を割りますと、もちろんお手伝いをするのは私たちの利害が一致するからです。小泉先生が日本の未来のために立ち上げられたプロジェクトを先生亡き後に食い物にしようとする輩を放置することはできません。私たちにもっと力があればそのような輩の介入を許しはしないのですが、風向きは変わり、もはやプロジェクトは小泉先生の理想には戻りません。豚どもが私欲を肥やすための豚小屋となり果てました。そのようなプロジェクトをこれ以上放置することがアルファベットプロジェクトの名付け親でもあられる小泉先生も望まれません。プロジェクトは小泉先生の理想を離れた時点で畳まれるべきなのです。派閥争いの生贄羊を今度は狼にしようというつもりですか？あなたが今のまま生涯公開できぬ祖父の論文を胸に隠居されることを選ぶおつもりでしたら、無理にとは申しません。
No, I won't let that happen. I don't mind falling to the ground myself. But at least my grandpa's article.
あなたとおじいちゃんの結晶である論文を永遠のものにはしたくないですか？それはだってあなたの念願のはずじゃないのですか？それが私の
Every bang is a lightning bolt.
あなたの本当の夢を叶えるチャンスを私たちがお手伝いします。
On the night I decided I was a loser in life and drowned myself in tears and alcohol after being abandoned by everything, I met someone who could be an angel or a devil. Is this divine salvation or the devil's seduction? I fought with the board of directors regarding continuation of our research, but that was completely off target. That wasn't my true goal. My objective isn't to continue researching Himizawa syndrome. It's to have the world acknowledge my grandfather's research as a masterpiece. Somehow the method for achieving that swapped places with my objective and caused me to misunderstand myself. The purpose of my life isn't to continue my grandfather's research. It's to get revenge and repay them for my grandfather's suffering. That's what this woman is saying. She's promising to make my grandfather's research eternal. She's also promising an opportunity to take revenge against those who laughed at it. When Uncle Kazumi died, I thought God was playing dice with my fate. But my unshakable conviction gathered together power stronger than God's die. So maybe this meeting happened for a reason. Curse you, God, you're testing me again. I will overcome the death of Uncle Kazumi. And I will make my grandfather an eternal existence by taking revenge against the god who tested me. I will, for certain. I will take my revenge. Lightning bolt. So who the hell was this woman? Because she isn't just like a, just part of Kazumi's, shared Kazumi's ideals and was part of the faction and wants revenge on the rest of Tokyo. She knows stuff about Takano, and she's able to twist those goals into something malicious. No, she's quite literally a devil, is the best way to describe it, in my opinion. To twist those pure intentions into something, into pure malice, into pure hatred, to make it turn into revenge against them for daring to step on the grandfathers, on Hifumi's reports. So who the hell was that woman? I'm very curious. Revenge changing. Okay, June 1983. I'm finishing this segment today, damn it. With this, do I have all the pieces lined up for 1983? It sure is a hard and exhausting job just lining up the pieces for the month of June. Yeah, no shit. But finally I'm at the starting line. Beginning from zero at last. Yet, seeing all these colorful fragments together, I realized just how many sentiments were intertwined around June 1983. I used to think that thoughts of people with no relation to me were useless. But I was wrong. Rika Furude did her best to overcome the fate of June 1983. She did two things. One was to get in touch with the Ear Institute because she knew she would be protected there. Ironically, Takano from the Ear Institute was the one who wanted to kill her, but it was the best move for her at the time. And the other was to ensure that the Maebara family moved to Himizawa. I actually wasn't certain that the Maebara family would move here. They first decided to move here when the father felt something sentimental at the sight of us on the day he came to visit the properties for sale. Therefore, it was necessary for us to play in that field. It was a trigger for the Maebara's family's move. It took me so long to find that out, though. After turning various conditions on and off repeatedly, I finally realized that meeting Keichi's father at that field was the cause. Keiichi Maebara is a very important key for breaking Rule Z, one of the chains that was binding me. He's the fresh air that's powerful enough to break all of the old and evil customs in this village. He created many opportunities, but he also provided me with an important clue, by letting me know that a strong conviction and the will to believe is what's important standing up against such a powerful fate. But I wasn't the only one who wanted him here. People in the Sonozaki family who wanted to wipe out the nastier traditions of the village also wished for him. Mion Sonozaki vowed to herself to protect Sadako and Satoshi because she was very much bothered by how irrational the treatment of the Hojo family was. And on the night Satoshi Hojo disappeared, she exploded at Oryu Sonozaki and voiced her true feelings. Oryu Sonozaki understood. Oryu herself had come to understand the wicked customs of the village and had been wanting to do something about it. But she didn't have the power to do so herself. She entrusted it to the fresh air that was blowing in from the outside. That was why the Watts went on sale, so the Maebara family couldn't move in. Even if I danced in that field, if Oryu hadn't put the Watts on sale, Keiichi couldn't have come. And when Rigu provided many important opportunities for Keiichi Maebara, was saved by returning to Himizawa after the deep emotional trauma of her parents' divorce sent her into terminal condition. Keiichi Maebara's wish to restart his life was the same wish Rigu had a year prior. Maybe that's why Rena was able to understand Keichi. Wow. Makes so much sense. It's like the miracle where one can recognize moments in a certain fragment from another fragment. If they can use the lessons learned from one fragment, then humans won't make those mistakes. The game pieces will make their best moves, and the chances of winning this game of June 1983 will rapidly increase. In other words, Rena Rikyu makes extremely important moves on this game board without realizing it. The mighty Wool Z that surrounded the Hojo siblings was eventually smashed by their actions. Of course, Sadako overcoming herself was also a big help. Their hands only met only because they reached from both sides. Keichi and Rena are the ones who taught me that. Mion is the one who made it possible for them to move here. She also helped them to become familiar with the village. That's not all. Yuri is also an important piece with significant functions of his own. Feeling empathy for Sadako, he is the most influential piece on the board we call Himizawa Syndrome. His existence is capable of defeating Wool X. Keichi and Rena's determination and subsequent awakening taught us that it was possible to fight against Wool X, but they didn't defeat it. Defeating Wool X requires the existence of Yuri, who has a strong will to discover a cure for the syndrome. I didn't know Yuri held this many thoughts within him. I always thought he was rather absent-minded, but he is in fact an important and powerful piece. So if we gather all this power, can we win against Takano's will? I've seen Takano's thoughts too. Sadly, her will is strong and can't be easily broken. It's no wonder our fate in June 1983 has been so hard to shake no matter how hard we fought. The sentiments I've been turning towards it pale in comparison to how many she's brought into it. The weight of our game pieces are different because I've given up on fighting while she has been risking her life to fight on. I've spent time sulking and drinking wine to escape from reality. I must be a very white piece indeed. I can't win against Takano with what I've so far. I need more pieces to be able to win. The officer Oshi once showed me the possibility of becoming a strong ally, but he's under the misunderstanding that the Sonzaki family caused the death of his dear friend, so until that gets resolved, he won't be of any help. I don't know how I can resolve that misunderstanding, but I just have to believe in it and keep rolling the die. Just like Keichi and Rena constitute a change fate. Maybe our Akasaka has the power to create a chance as well. So many people. The curse of 1983 is tied to the curse of Himizawa. A curse can't be broken by inner power alone. It takes power from outside as well. Both sides have to reach out, otherwise the hands won't meet, just like what happened with Sadako. But Akasaka has never come to our aid. Even if he did, it was always too late. Too late. Far too late. But if I keep rolling the die, will Akasaka's game piece eventually appear? The final Wool Y, involves the evil masterminds who are using Takano as their own game piece. To defeat them, I need a very strong opponent for her. And the only one I can think of is none other than Akasaka from the police headquarters in Tokyo. There are more pieces who would lend me their power. I need to gather them all, otherwise I can't win against Takano. The preparation of the game board is complete, but I need more pieces. It's only the beginning. You're goddamn right. God, it's so interesting when it's really just told to us, you know. Just how everything contributes together, how everything goes from one part to the next. Okay. And finally, we have the game board is set up. So no more. I don't think we got any more things. Just these. Hitamabushi fragment. This piece is the only one that's so distorted. I don't remember this one. That's because it's from long before June 1983. Therefore, the existence of this piece has no effect whatsoever in the game we're playing on this board. But is this really a useless piece? The identity of Wool Y has been completely exposed by now. With the backing of a mighty organization, it is powerful enough to swallow up the small solidarity of individuals. I almost give up on this game because of its irrational power. That's why I'm thinking that maybe there's a piece hidden somewhere that's strong enough to fight against such a formidable enemy. Marumu Akasaka works on the police headquarters in Tokyo and might have the power to stand up to such a vast conspiracy. Can his power withstand even Wool Y? Just like Akechi Marabara defeated Wool Z, will he be able to defeat Wool Y so easily? We need everyone's strength, so Akasaka's strength is needed as well. Okay. Okay, let's do this in order. Onakakushi. In order for Akechi Marabara to become a game piece that can read everyone, there's something he has to learn about first. The piece that's very painful, pitiful, and sad. He has to learn about his friends, and he has to learn to not doubt them. He doesn't know the importance of trusting his friends. He doesn't know just yet. As slight mistrust grows into paranoia, Akechi Marabara is trapped within Wool X. At the end of Wool X, Akechi leaves a sad note and dies. While it may be very bitter and very painful, it also puts him through the process of learning something very important. Hey Hanyu, you didn't have to apologize. In the few days he left Himizawa to attend his relative's funeral, tragically he experienced an outbreak. But I think this was necessary as his first step towards learning something important. The very first step towards smoking out Wool X and eventually defeating it. When this piece was all I had, I didn't even think of that though. Isn't that true? Didn't even think about it. Sumo Boroshi. This game piece has a very important meaning for us, because it showed us for the first time that it was possible to poke a hole in the fate of the June of 1983. To start from the conclusion, everything gets taken in by Wool Y at the end, and all of our effort is wasted. But we're challenging the great wall that governs this game board, Wool X, head on. We're using everything we've learned so far from other fragments which prove we can defeat it. We grow by learning. In a game with no hope of winning, we can discover a slight chance of victory. This piece taught us that. With this game piece, Wool X was almost completely defeated. Akechi Marabara and other friends won't be led astray by something as pathetic as the Himizawa syndrome and dance and tragedy any longer. It has also taught us that the wolves aren't indestructible and are possible to overcome. In other words, it has given us, the ones who are on the outside of the game board, hope. It's an important fragment that serves as our turning point and the trigger for everything else. Yep. Onakakushi, Introduction, the first tragedy. Simuroboshi, the first sign of hope. Wanakagashi. This game piece reminds us that no matter what happens on this game board, everything is due to the curse of the Sonozaki family pulling someone's strings. Now, to put it in my words, this is the piece that makes everyone aware of the existence of Wool Z. It's hard to notice with just this piece, but this is a complicated fragment where Shion Sonozaki, while trapped in Wool X and mistaking it for Wool Y as heroed about, comes to notice the existence of Wool Z. But this is also the piece that teaches us the rules of the game board. By the way, the piece called Shion Sonozaki is a piece coming from the outside, from the game's point of view. She dislikes Sadako Hojo at first, but though this and another piece, she learns something important. Challenges Wool X and then grows to be a powerful piece to fight Wool Z. The most ridiculous part of this fragment is that it's hidden so cunningly. It doesn't seem that way at all with just a passing glance. Isn't that true? Learn from your mistakes. Please become a powerful piece and lend me your strength to defeat my enemies. Miyakashi. This is the piece of Shion Sonozaki who goes mad after being taken in by Wool X. With no room for sympathy, this is such a painful piece that one can only have pity. It distinctly identifies the keyhole of the padlock called Wool Z. Keichi Marabara becomes a key himself to pry open this padlock. And as Mion Sonozaki wished for, he becomes the wind that clears out the stagnant ale filling the village. This piece also teaches us an important lesson. Shion Sonozaki learns through this piece and then becomes a strong ally for Sadako Hojo. In that way, maybe Sadako Hojo is a piece that represents the padlock for Wool Z. Unless she is saved, Wool Z can't be defeated. And when she is saved, that means Wool Z is defeated. This piece indicates only that. That's the only thing Shion Sonozaki learned by gambling her life. But now I think that's very important. Every time I see Sadako and Shion argue about pumpkins, I think about that. God, just this feeling of just finale, you know, like finale. It's so tantamount. Tatsuomashi. It's not how you say it. That for a fact. This piece shows us the existence of the unreasonable Wool Z surrounding Sadako, and reveals the most powerful adversary, Wool on the game board, Wool Y. Can the Wools X, Y, and Z be seen now? The enemy we need to fight, the things we need to learn, are all gathered and revealed here in this fragment. At this point, it's impossible to reach Wool Y. Fighting against Wool Z's effect on Sadako is the best that can be done. But in this piece, we make a mistake in our approach for fighting it. The outcome we gained through erroneous means is erroneous itself. Keichi Marabara learned that through his own experiences. The tragedy doesn't possess the power to overcome tragedy. Violence doesn't possess the power to overcome violence. If they can grasp that, all the pieces on this game board were worn the true way to fight. But Takano is too powerful. The shocking end of this piece doesn't allow us to learn it that easily. Yeah. Only 2 left. Mina Goroshi. The game piece that uncovers the invisible wool Y that has been pulling the strings from the beginning. Because the impression of that is so strong, it's easy to forget about something very important. We can't forget that this piece also shows the path towards destroying Wool Z. While Rika Furude lamented Wool Z as impossible to defeat, it was hardly a match for Keichi Marabara and the others once they learned everything they needed to. They knew the correct way to fight, and fought according to the rules of the game board. As a result, we win, and that fact is more valuable than anything for us. Keichi Marabara taught me a lesson. There is no need to subject ourselves to any fate. The will to believe can defeat anything. The fate that I was always subjected to was created by Mio Takano's own conviction, so what he says is correct. To defeat her conviction, we need a stronger conviction of our own. A strong will can be pierced only by another strong will. We defeated Wolves X and Z and then challenged the final Wool Y, but we needed more pieces. Each piece fought at its best, but the strength of our enemies' pieces led by Mio Takano were just too powerful. She didn't even give us mercy. She squished us completely. It made us restart the game all over again. Although we lost, we didn't give up the resolve in our hearts. Because we finally found the true culprit, and also found a clue for how to fight against her. We can't win with the pieces we have now. We don't have a powerful enough conviction or strong enough will. But Hanyu and I will keep trying. We'll roll our dice repeatedly, look for the greatest result, correct pieces, and try again. With a will stronger than Takano. Didn't you think of giving up several times before you got to this point? But you made it because you believed in me and followed me here. We're almost there, we can do it. Let's create the last piece. It will be the ultimate piece, and we won't need anything else. The very last piece of all. Come on, let's collect the pieces. Let's collect miracles. Please give your hopes, desires, and dreams to me. Did you almost give up several times before this? Shit. Why the hell did that line get to me? That like just pierced my fucking brain. There's nothing else left. A fragment of Matsu Ubashi. After collecting miracles from all 7 fragments, I finally got a hold of this one. This fragment holds our final fate. But before we take a peek, please wait for just a little bit. The fate that's inside will be decided the moment we take a peek. Have I told you about the story of the cat in the box? Sure, Nurse Cat. Is the cat in the box alive or dead? If you open the box, you'll know. But you won't know until you open it. It could be alive and it could be dead. In other words, before you open the box, the living cat and the dead cat simultaneously coexist. And the moment you open the box and find out the truth, the incorrect answer disappears. The inside of this fragment is the same principle. The future we desire and the future Takano desires simultaneously coexist. They are opposing and denying each other. Once we take a peek, one of those futures will disappear. If we have enough pieces, we can take a look inside this fragment. But we've only had the same pieces lined up the same way in the game board. In the game under the same condition was Takano's complete victory. We've already tried that in the Higurashi fragment. We need more pieces. We need the help of a piece that's powerful enough to defeat Wool Y. Until I get a hold of that piece, it's too scary to take a peek inside this fragment. But how do I get such a piece? It's a piece I've never gotten a hold of before. To obtain it, I need to work just one more time. I need one more miracle to obtain that piece. Is it a good ending or a bad ending? What ending is it? We won't know until it's opened. Do you need the final? Leftover fragments. Let me save real quick. Do you need the final miracle? What is this? I never noticed this tiny little fragment. Sometimes a fragment gets cracked and it breaks. Just like how the fate we believe in cracks in sometimes. Damaged fate is no longer the same fate it was. Then which fate does this piece belong to? I picked up the tiny fragment and tried to match it with the fragments I have in my hand. And the last fragment I picked up was the Himabatsubushi fragment. This fragment was distorted from the beginning. And look. See? This tiny piece fits perfectly. With this tiny fragment, how will the world change? What kind of miracle will occur? Whoa. The whole world warped. Since I put the broken piece back where it belonged, the distortion centered on the crack. But that doesn't mean that I can't take a peek inside. It's already past 1985. It's a time long after Rika Furude and her friend's stories tragically ended in June 1983. Beep, sure. With some mild interference, an order cracked through their headsets. Bus station.
ご苦労さん。所轄署は15分くれることになってる。秒で制圧しろ。一人たりとも逃がすな。ターゲットの一人は外交官だ。警察だと悟られるな。有無を言わせず身柄を確保しろ。ただし間違っても危害を加えるな。外交問題に発展するぞ。外交官特権で地元暴力団と癒着している芸道どもだ。
They launder money from drug dealing and force people into the sex trade to pay off high-interest debts. According to the local embassy, some of the victims are younger than teenagers. Jesus. Normally, this would be a simple case, what with the perpetrators being gangsters. But when the police found out that a foreign diplomat was involved, things got much more complicated all of a sudden. Diplomats have diplomatic immunity, so the police can't arrest them. But they knew he was an important figure in the whole scheme, and there was no doubt that he was the middleman between the foreign criminal organization and the Japanese gangsters. They couldn't let him escape. It'd be easy to deport him, but that wouldn't solve anything. The police had asked the embassy for assistance, but they denied the request. And the case was put on a standstill at that point. That's when they found out that the organization was going to be selling the Self-Defense Forces classified radar and missile technology secrets. Damn. Then the Public Safety Division then had to move on to the premise to protect his this classified government information. Today was the day that operation was set to go.
正面は階段前に2人、地下入り口に2人、裏口に4人、全員体重の可能性大。普段より2人多いな。あの人にとっちゃ2秒余計にかかるだけさ。容赦ねえからな、あの人。聞こえるか、赤坂。
Oh shit.
お前が切り込み隊長だ。用心して隠れ。よし、開始しろ。
赤坂了解。作戦を開始する。
A man suddenly appeared around the corner downtown. It was Akasaka. He displayed none of the naivete that he did when he first met Rika. When he got to the entrance of the underground club, a bouncer with a heavy foreign accent stopped him. Akasaka pulled a card out after being asked. It was a card that was very difficult to forge, so they could only get one. As the man on point, he was the one to receive it. The bouncer let Akasaka in after confirming he had a membership card.
Akasaka-san, 地上の護衛突破。地下階段を降りてます。頼むぞ、Akasaka。
At the bottom of the staircase, there was an overly decorated door like the ones you'd see at a high-class club. The venomous glow of the cocktail lights lit it up, suddenly warning everyone it was the entrance to the den of evil.
いらっしゃいませ。会員証を拝見いたします。
The guard at the entrance took the membership card and put it through the card reader on the wall. Beep. An error sound. Sweat precipitation could be seen on Akasaka's forehead. The guard swiped the card a couple of times more. Beep. Beep.
Akasaka-san, 手間取ってます。まさか、カードの認証が変えられたか。赤坂にトラブルが発生したら作戦変更するぞ。赤坂の安全を速攻で確保しろ。
The expression of the guard with him steadily grew dour. His right hand reached inside of his jacket, probably figuring his gun. Ding. The buzzer suddenly rang with a delightful tone, and the card reader flashed a green light. Immediately after that, the lock of the door opened up.
お待たせしました。どうぞお通りください。
The guard pulled his hand out of his jacket and opened up the heavy door. Loud music and flashing colorful lights spilled out from the inside. From within that, a well-dressed guard appeared to welcome Akasaka. At this moment, his first mission was accomplished. Having acted as the go signal for the remaining units, Akasaka was also in the dangerous position of being in enemy territory all by himself. The door was the biggest obstacle for their ambush. The door locked automatically, so whenever it was closed, it was also sealed that way. It was a solid door and nearly impossible to open from the outside. Somebody had to not only open that door, but keep it open for several seconds in order for the raid to begin. Akasaka was the only one who could do that.
Akasaka, 入り口確保。作戦開始。
Oh shit! The complex on the other side of the club was getting a new tenant, and there were 2 trucks parked in front of the building. But of course, that was just a disguise. The door to one of the trucks opened, and several dozen plainclothes investigators jumped out. The same thing was happening at the back door, too. The ground-level guards noticed this and began to draw their guns, but were taken down immediately by nearby investigators who had begun pretending to be innocent bystanders. Several dozen investigators quietly went down the underground stairs. These narrow underground stairs were another obstacle to their operation. Everything would end up on the security camera. Their raid would become known within a few seconds. For that matter, a push on the security button would make it impossible for the lock to be opened from the outside. That's why they had to secure the door before the ambush. The guards on both sides of Akasaka noticed the loud footsteps coming down the stairs. The well-dressed guard also realized that something was wrong. The three guards shifted their attention from Akasaka to the stairs behind him. And as he sensed that attention shift, Akasaka took a quick, deep breath and then stopped breathing entirely. The two guards standing beside him suddenly rose into the air in strange positions. What? Akasaka determined his position relative to the two guards next to him, so he didn't need to check with his eyes. But even so... Damn! His fists had been driven into their faces with such precise accuracy. His moves were well-trained ones and showed no mercy against evil. They were as destructive as armor-piercing ammunition. Fucking John Wick. Furthermore, Akasaka had retracted his arms at the same speed he struck. Everything looked so strange in the flashing lights. The man who witnessed all this probably couldn't figure out what had just happened. The two guards were up in the air in strange positions, and the man who had been standing in front of him was now crouching low. Then that frozen moment shattered. The well-dressed guard was smashed into the ceiling, and shortly afterward came crashing down onto the floor. Later on, while slurping liquid food, he would desperately try to remember whether it was a fist or a weight that broke his jaw. He would probably never quite recall it. Rather luckily, the way his body fell blocked the door, so Akasaka didn't have to hold it open any longer.
Akasaka. 突入する。おい、待て。後続と合流しろ。Akasaka.
The room was filled with loud music, but everyone had already noticed about how what the hell is that word? Haha at the entrance. As soon as Akasaka bellowed his warning, screams filled the club. Most people immediately hit the floor as if trying to proclaim their innocence, but all the guards reacted quickly to Akasaka. In the midst of all this, there were a few people who were trying to make their escape through the back alongside several guards. Akasaka restarted his breathing once and then stopped it again, and then ran after them like a wolf. He jumped up onto the table, smashing expensive bottles of alcohol and shattering glasses with ice cubes made from the icebergs of the Arctic. A foreign bodyguard whose previous profession must have been a professional boxer thoughtlessly stood in front of Akasaka. With a heavy accent, he tried to taunt his opponent. But Akasaka couldn't have cared less about that. The only display that man was able to put on for him was that he was able to block Akasaka's attack. But it wasn't even an effective guard. The power of Akasaka's punches was so incredible that he simply broke the man's bones in his attempt to block them. The man's arm warped in a strange way, and the moment after the agony showed on his face, Akasaka's left arm ground into it. Akasaka, you see, is right-handed. That man should consider himself grateful that he was able to get away with a mere orbital fracture. Thinking that this was his chance, another man attempted to tackle Akasaka-san from behind. He assumed that no matter how strong a man was, he'd go down quickly when attacked from behind. He also assumed that as Akasaka was concentrating in front of him, he wouldn't be expecting that attack from behind to begin with. But that would only be true if Akasaka was just concentrating on his front. Indeed, the attacker was very wrong, for Akasaka was no longer even thinking about the man before him. Akasaka knew exactly when and what was about to happen. The experience he has built up to this day taught him that. His body, more than his mind, remembering the timing for when menaces to society like this would make their move from behind him. Akasaka's attack continued fluidly from the left arm punch that he struck against the ex-boxer. His left arm retracted, and at the same time he arced his left leg around beautifully as it crashed into the man approaching him from behind. A dull sound signified that his nose had been broken. But Akasaka already knew that. Akasaka continued his motion and directed a decisive white blow to the side of his assailant's head. The man slammed into the wall and bounced off of it, rolling on the floor. Akasaka took another breath. Under the glare of the dazzling club lights, the guards realized they were up against a demon. Yes, they realized that there was no way to take him down. The guards were being paid to deal with humans. Fighting demons just wasn't in their job description. At that moment, backup finally arrived. Maybe finally isn't a suitable word. Everything that happened did so over a matter of seconds. The time it took for Akasaka to take down those 5 guards was a span of merely 2 bluffs. Thanks to Akasaka's furious action, the flow of events was already set. Akasaka's intimidating first strike shattered the gang leader's will to run. They were all down on the floor, but one of them began smiling. Akasaka grabbed him by the collar and threw him against the concrete wall.
あなた警察ですか？不逮捕特権あります。私は外交官です。
そりゃよかったな。給料いくらだ？
これ外交問題になります。大使館へ連絡させてくだ。
With a dragon-like roar, Akasaka's right fist pounded the wall right next to the diplomat's head. Immediately after that, his left fist pounded the wall on the other side of that head, and soon enough Akasaka pounded the wall 7 times, each just a sliver away from the diplomat. His fists were easily powerful enough to crush the man's head. The diplomat crumbled to the floor.
Akasaka, target確保.
Further investigations discovered a secret getaway route that even public safety didn't know about. Dozens of Soviet military-grade machine guns were found, and if Akasaka hadn't stopped them there in the club, they would have escaped, or even worse, the operation might have ended with a brutal death toll on both sides. All thanks to how well Akasaka executed his duty, the operation was completed without a single shot fired.
確保しろ。急げ。地元警察が来るぞ。全員を荷台に押し込め。
Since the foreign diplomat was involved, they had to make sure it didn't look as though the whole operation was carried out by the police. Instead, it was made to look like a simple gang war. They would dump the useless gang members and hand over the targets to the police. Of course, before handing him over, they make sure he spilled everything he knew. That diplomatic pig would be used as a negotiation device by another part of public safety. They found plenty of evidence that said pig was tied to an underground criminal organization. Not one in persona, nor a non-grata on their hands, the embassy would likely cut all ties with him. The rest would be the business of other departments. Public safety's job was to take care of the things regular police couldn't deal with. Okay, where's my fucking Akasaka police, manga series?
こちら赤坂。撤収中。
また無茶をしやがって。後で出張にこってり絞られろ。
やっぱり鬼だな、赤坂さんはよ。
Ooh shit, what is this funky ass music?
秒殺で5人撃墜だぜ。
ありゃあ絶対空手の域を超えてるな。赤坂さんの鉄拳はすでに狂気だね。
しかし連中、銃を抜かなかったのはラッキーだったよな。赤坂さん、躊躇ねえからな。蜂の巣にしてたかもしれないぜ。
It's literally fucking John Wick.
聞こえてるぞ。人を殺し屋みたいに言うな。俺は悪党に容赦しないだけだ。
He's fucking crapping in the background. The pigs he had just caught were no average criminals. They had committed so many unforgivable sins. The strength behind Akasaka's fist was proportional to those sins. The heavier their sins, the more powerful his blows would be.
歌どもを荷台に詰め込め。赤坂、急がせろ。所轄署に通報が入ってるぞ。
赤坂了解。聞こえたな。撤収を急げ。
了解。主任どうぞ。用地手配をお願いします。
There wasn't any trace left of Akasaka's own naivete. He had grown to be the vigilante ace of his department. Vigilant. Damn, Akasaka, you scary. Sounds like Katamari Damacy music. What the hell is this? Akasaka was training inside a dark dojo filled with the smell of sweat and mold. The dojo was located in the middle of downtown in a small building. It wasn't that big, and they weren't that well equipped either. It generally didn't look like a dojo where a person as skilled as Akasaka would train. There were only 3 or 4 students there, including Akasaka. But this was the dojo he picked. To Akasaka, karate was certainly a weapon for crushing his enemies, but now he was seeking something further from it. To achieve his goal, a dojo with many young students having actual physical lessons wouldn't work. He had gone to so many different dojos, and this was the one he finally settled on. Every time Akasaka punched a sandbag, the heavy thud of this punch and the clang of the sandbag's chain would echo. It wasn't just punching blindly. He fought first, developed those thoughts, and then punch! It was more of a deep and low vibration than a proper sound. Drops of sweat scattered, and the dust welled up in the air. It was a perfect blow embodying the concept of 1 strike, 1 kill. But he wasn't satisfied. He closed his eyes, controlled his breathing as if trying to hear the cry of cicadas, then he punched again. From a beginner's perspective, it looked like he was taking breaks between each. The other students training on their own would glance over and sense a fearsome respect at his focused blows.
Akasaka-san って警察に勤めてるって噂だぜ。マジかよ。あんな人が警官やってるなら、俺は悪いことする気なんか起きねえぜ。しかし、赤坂さんも集中力がすげえよな。あの人疲れるってことを知らねえぜ。
On his days off, Akasaka came to the dojo in the early morning, and he solemnly trained all day. His training was no longer physical, but mental. The other students were already aware that his continuous concentration was a secret of his strength. However, that was easier said than done. As long as a person lives, they are bound by countless ties and idle thoughts. For a person to submit all his will into such singular focus is more like trying to attain enlightenment than something in the realm of martial arts. Man has tried many different methods to achieve such enlightenment, and what we've learned is that there is no one way to reach it, and the path one takes can reach it if mastered. Karate is what Akasaka chose.
噂に聞いたんだけどよ。あの人、奥さん死んじゃってるらしいんだよ。それを忘れるために空手を始めたって噂だぜ。
Okay, so this is the timeline. Okay.
あれ？俺が聞いた話は違うぜ。任務中に女の子を救えなかったとかなんとかで、それで自分の無力さを痛感したとかなんとか。
No, it's really both.
おい、聞こえてるぞ。人の噂話なんかしてないで稽古をしろ。
There was a small beeping noise. Somebody's watch was letting them know it was noon.
赤坂さん。俺たち弁当買ってきますけど、赤坂さんのも買ってきましょうか。
助かる。何でもいいぞ。頼む。
Akasaka was more pleased to be alone in the dojo than to have anyone bring him lunch. When they left, silence filled the building.
人の話なんかしやがるから集中が途切れちまったじゃないか。
But if that happened because of that bit of small talk, that meant he had much more training to do. He had to train much harder if he wanted to achieve enlightenment. He focused again and started to punch the sandbag, but the sound was a lot wider than before, and obviously the strength in his fist was no longer there. Realizing that he needed to take a break, Akasaka pulled out a towel from his bag and sat down. The sound of cicadas soaked into his body. The windows were open, but there was no breeze coming in. Still, he could feel the cool air, if just a little. Just as they said, the reason Akasaka started karate was because of Yuki's death. Of course, losing against a suspect in that kidnapping incident was one reason too, but more than that, the pain from Yuki's death was what made him start. Yuki fell down the stairs at the hospital and died while he was on a business trip in Shishiborn. He couldn't get rid of that depression, so he started learning karate. But in June 1983, when the Great Himizawa disaster occurred, he realized something very important. The girl had predicted Yuki's death, and in return he wanted him to help her. She wanted him to help her. Yuki's death was an accident. He could have told himself that there was nothing he could have done. But as for the girl, Rika Furude's death was different. She knew about her own death 5 years prior. When the disaster occurred, he remembered Oshi and called him to make sure he was okay. They found out about everything. When he was caught up, he fell into despair. Rika Furude was the turning point in his life. If he had believed what she predicted and did something about it, maybe Yuki wouldn't have had to fall down the stairs. He took the oath to serve the public as a police officer, yet he didn't even notice the plea for help from a little girl. He shoved aside a conspiracy surrounding her until it was too late. He had 5 years to do something about it, but he didn't do anything and she died. Visiting Himizawa for the kidnapping case of the minister's grandson was definitely the turning point in his life. If he had only listened to what that girl said, Yuki would have never died, and he could have been there to help Rika Furude. Those two things continued to haunt him. The investigation into the series of mysterious deaths in Himizawa that he heard about from Oshi was put on indefinite hiatus because of the disaster, though it was apparent to both of them that there was some conspiracy behind it all. To challenge such things, he needed all the strength and experience that he could muster. He was devoting himself to gain such strength, but it was too late. Everything had already ended. While he was stuck in this dilemma, the dojo instructor admonished him. There's nothing one can do about what's already done. So in that case, the only thing he could do is train diligently so that if the same thing is to happen again, he will be able to save a person in need. It's all too late. Everything is already over. Yuki died in an accident. Himizawa was destroyed in the gas disaster. And Rika-chan was murdered as her intestines were whipped out while she was alive. Shit! I was too obsessed with Yuki's death and couldn't hear the girl's pleas for help. No, if I had listened to her, I could have prevented Yuki's accident too. Damn it. Damn it! Shit! As Akasaka clutched his hair and looked up, he noticed a small shrine overhead that protected the dojo. Akasaka respected both Shinto and Buddhism, but he had never thought of pointing to gods in times of despair. But for the first time, he felt like praying for help. If it was something he was capable of doing himself, he would never even consider praying. But as it was something he couldn't resolve on his own, he prayed. It was a very selfish wish. If his wish were to come true, everyone in the whole world would wish for the same thing.
もう一度あの時に戻らせてくれ。そうしたら今度こそ俺は二人を救う。
At that moment, Akasaka's body suddenly felt very light. No, it was more like he was losing balance, as if he was fainting. Perhaps it was because he shouted so loudly after training, and his brain was lacking in oxygen. But he couldn't take his eyes off the shrine.
ありがとう、赤坂。あなたの思いが私たちにはとても必要だった。
Was this hallucination? Akasaka felt like a stranger was talking to him.
私たちが奇跡を願い、あなたも奇跡を願わなければ奇跡は起こらない。だって奇跡は全員が願わなかったら起こらない。双方が手を伸ばし合わなかったら届かない。
He didn't know what she was trying to say, but somehow he felt like he couldn't miss a single word of it. He felt like it was something very, very important.
Akasaka, もしあなたも望んでくれるなら、あなたに奇跡を、私たちに奇跡を。それは欠けたかけらを結び合わせ、より大きな大きなかけらを生み出すきっかけになる。あなたのたった一つの決意が全員の思いや運命に大きな影響を及ぼすこともあるのだから。
あの時にもう一度時間を巻き戻してくれるというのか。
うん、そんなこと私にはできないのです。私にできるのは気づかせることだけ。一つのかけらだけでは学べないことを他のかけらで学んだことを気づかせてあげるだけ。だからこの欠けたかけらをあるべきところへ戻すだけ。それでもきっと大きな奇跡。もっともその奇跡をあなたはきっと気づかないだろうけれど。
Thank you, Akasaka. Thank you for remembering me. I don't even know how much time I've spent asking you for help, but finally it reached you. So I'll say it one more time. Please help me. No, please help us. Holy shit. God damn, man. Son of a bitch. I can't just end it here. I can't just end it here. I can't just end it here. God damn it, we're getting through this fucking segment. We're finally going to open up Matsu Ubashi. Put the pieces back together. It was Wong. It really was Wong. Are you okay? Is your spirit still alive? Maybe. I don't know. Do we have all the pieces we want lined up on the game board? Is this everything we have that can go up against Takano and her minions in the Game of Fate in the June of 1983? I think maybe we have everything. And last but not least, Hanyu, it's you. The time you have left to be a piece is limited, but that doesn't mean you can't show up in the game. Shall we begin? I've put in hundreds of years just for this moment. Just for this moment. Someone once suggested that believing is like placing a bet with coins of hope. In other words, believing means taking a risk. You gain something if you win, but you lose something if you fail. As with any gamble, we try to make sure we win and then bet a coin. But as with any gamble, there's no guarantee of victory. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. And that's how you increase the number of coins you have. But if you keep losing, you don't want to continue gambling. It's then that you realize that if you don't gamble, you don't have to lose anything. Not gambling on anything is the same as not believing in anything. Not believing in anything is the same as not involving yourself in anything. And not involving yourself in anything is the same as not existing. Therefore, she didn't exist. The one coin she had in her heart was the last one. If she lost it, she'd disappear. That was why she was hesitating to make a bet. She had been running, trying not to get involved in any type of match because she was afraid of betting it by accident. But just like in a game of poker, she could lose her coin by folding. She tried not to lose her last coin, but that meant she was going to lose it eventually anyway. There was something she didn't know. Actually, I didn't know it at the time either. The more coins bet into the pool, the higher our chances of winning this game. In other words, the more frightened we are, the more we'll keep losing the game before us. It's just like carrying a portable shrine. It's impossible to carry such a heavy thing by oneself. But when people put their strength together, they can lift it easily. There's a clear borderline between too heavy to lift and easily lifted. It's just like how the balance in the scale tips with just a little weight. The big, heavy shrine before us couldn't be lifted. Everyone tried their hardest to raise it, but couldn't. It didn't help because I was sure it couldn't budge. I don't participate in games I know I can't win, so I didn't bet my coin. But that was wrong of me. Maybe the portable shrine could have been lifted if I joined. For the longest time, I've been pretending to be a bystander. I always thought I was there just to find out if my coin was worth betting or not. But that was wrong. I'm not just an onlooker, nor should I be a bystander. I should have participated. The game I've been facing doesn't look like a game I can win. It doesn't look like a game that's worth betting on. But by betting on it, or by participating in it, or by believing in it, the outcome might change. To gamble on something is the same as to believe in something. To believe in something is the same as to be involved in something. To be involved in something is the same as to exist. Therefore, she existed. Oh.
Hi, 皆さん。朝のホームルームを始めますよ。
I think I'm going to end things here. So we've finally gotten into the chapter. We have all the game pieces now. We have everything. We got all the pieces. We know everything now. All we have to do is break the free rules of this game in order to achieve the happy ending we want, that we need, that I believe in. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this type of content, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. Want to tell me something, put it down in the comments below. Check out Discord server I hang out in, or my Twitter. Check the description below. And yeah, this has been Voidlego. I'll see you guys next time. See ya!